Okay. Okay, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's meeting. This is ANC 5G. Tonight is our monthly public meeting. We have a packed agenda for you all today. So bear with us on the time, but we'll make sure that we get through everything and everyone that needs to share information and present. Again, if you are presenting tonight or sharing information to the public, and if I've not already done so, please raise your hand so I can unmute you. So you have that ability to talk, and we'll promote you to a panelist once we arrive to the time on the agenda. See, Commissioner Henderson is joined, promoting them to panelists. Friendly reminder to folks on tonight's Zoom, our chat feature has been deactivated as of our since our January meeting, where we're having a rambunctious crowd of residents and neighbors dropping comments in there that we deemed that weren't respectful or fit for our public meetings. So we do have a Q&A feature on this Zoom webinar, where you can ask a question on any of the information that's being shared. We just request that the Q&A function is actually used for questions. We would ask that you refrain from dropping comments in the Q&A feature in our Zoom tonight. So with that being said, I'll move forward and proceed with our agenda as noticed to the public 7 days in advance. We start off with welcome and reports at the beginning with a call to order and roll call. So I called to order this meeting starting at 7:07 p.m. tonight on April 10th, 2023 for the month of April. I'll commence with roll call. Currently 5D01, our ANC in Union Market, is still vacant. So I'll commence with 5D02.
Present.
5D03.
Present.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D04
Present.
and 5D05 is myself. I am present. 5D06,
Present.
5D07,
Commissioner McCollum, present.
5D08,
Present.
and 5D09.
Present.
Okay. Tonight we have quorum. Proceeding with the agenda, we proceed with the adoption of the agenda. I'm going to ask any of the commissioners if there's any needed changes or adjustments to tonight's agenda.
I have one proposed addition. I propose that we vote on our quarterly financial report for fiscal year 2023, second quarter, which covers January through March of this year.
Okay. Outside of Commissioner Cobb's addition, are there any other additional requests or revisions to the agenda? Okay, hearing no additional ones. Commissioner Cobb, can you make a motion to add that to the agenda?
Sure, I move that we add the FY23 Q2 financial report to the agenda. Probably the most sensible place is right after the treasurer's monthly report.
Okay, I second that. All in favor of this addition to the agenda, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Moving forward with tonight's agenda, we have the adoption of the minutes. The minutes are easily linked in our agenda tonight. Our agenda can easily be found on the 5D website under the meetings tab. The minutes have been reviewed by the commission in advance of tonight's meeting during our COW meeting 2 weeks ago. Our secretary, Commissioner May, do you have anything else to add in terms of the minutes, or would like to make a motion to adopt them?
No additions, but I'm happy to make a motion to adopt the minutes from the March 13th public meeting.
Okay.
I second it.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor of adopting of the meeting minutes from last month's meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it, one and one opposition. Next, we have our treasurer's monthly report. Commissioner Cobb is our treasurer for ANC 5D. Commissioner Cobb, can you give us the report and also the addition that you made to the agenda?
Of course. Start with the monthly report for this past March. We had an opening balance of $26,815.06. We got a quarterly allotment from the district government of $4,663.02. And we only had one expense. It was our monthly MailChimp subscription, and that was $23.32. So on balance, we built up our reserves a little bit, and we now, as of the end of March, are sitting at $31,454.76. So there's that. And now moving on to our financial report for Q2 of fiscal year 2023. Again, that covers January through March of this year. We started with a balance of $28,718.46. We received an allotment of $4,663.02. And we had total expenses of $1,926.72, leaving us with a final balance at the end of March of $31,454.76.
Okay. Are there any questions from the commissioner of the public on the treasurer's report?
Yes. What are those expenditures for?
Mail, it's most, let's see. The big one is Verizon bill, which was included past due fees, but we are now current on our Verizon, which is Fios. It's the internet for the conference room, the meeting space in our office, and then MailChimp subscriptions monthly of about $23.
And where is the documentation?
That is in the quarterly financial report folders that ONC provides via a OneDrive link linked to our ANC email accounts.
Every commissioner has access to that. Let's see, any questions from the public? Don't see any questions from the public. Okay, Commissioner, you can proceed with the requested vote.
Great. I move that we adopt the quarterly financial report as it currently stands.
Second.
Second by, I think I heard Commissioner Blacknell a little stronger there. Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. The motion carries. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Proceeding with tonight's agenda, we have our traditional standing presentations. This includes commissioner reports, our public safety report from MPD, any information being shared from the Executive Office of the Mayor and the Ward 5 Council member. Proceeding first with our commissioners reports. Again, 5D01, which is Union Market, is currently vacant. So we'll proceed with 5D02.
Yes, we will be having some additional monitoring by EPA. EPA will be conducting a public meeting by the end of this month. We will make sure that everyone gets notice. But we will be doing some additional monitoring of the chemical plant. And as of last week, the chemical plant was able to get their business license. So technically, they're not operating illegally, but they will be having some monitoring conducted by the EPA. And that's all I have for April.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. 5D03.
Hi. So now our subcommittee, now our community action and support group is now officially a subcommittee. So I'm going to get meetings started soon. I apologize. I again didn't get the newsletter out the other day, but I've just been too busy, but I will catch up on that. Thanks to Commissioner Sabrina, who had a great idea of having quarterly Know Your Rights. Given it looks like we're gonna try to work that out sometime this week. We're meeting on Friday with the ACLU and the National Lawyers Guild to see how good we can do on that end. The 1108 Montello is coming along, and it looks good right now. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D04.
Thanks. Just really quickly on the transportation front, DDOT just released its projects, some of its projects for the summer, and which traffic safety investigations it's going to look into. Next quarter, we have a lot around ANC 5D and a lot in Trinidad as well. A lot of signage. We're getting speed bumps on Megs and another block in the neighborhood. I don't have it on me right now, but if you want to see for yourself, I will drop the link to the traffic safety input dashboard in the chat. And that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D05, I'll just piggyback off of what Commissioner Cobb said. We are expecting DDOT to complete these speed hump installations by the beginning of summer. The speed hump installations in Northern Trinidad are on Miggs Place, Childress in front of the rec center, and I also believe Holbrook Street. So we know that some of the sidewalks have already been repaired. But we're still waiting for the completion of the speed hump installation. So that's the next step in that process. Specifically in the area about all of it here in Ivy City in Northern Trinidad, Zachary Parker's office is doing a walkthrough of the neighborhood on Wednesday. So be on the lookout for his office and team out on the block, and feel free to, open your doors and ask any questions that you might have. Take advantage of the council members team in the area. As well. It's the month of April, Earth Day is approaching, and Clean City is doing its annual cleanup. Here in South Ward 5, they'll be coming to the Trinidad Rec Center and spoke with their team today, and we confirmed that we will also be covering outside of the rec center. We will also be covering Miggs Place, Rom Street, and Holbrook Terrace. Outside of that, just so people are aware, next month, DPW is holding an all hands on deck meeting with several offices and agencies, starting off at Sims Place here in Northern Trinidad. Our wonderful sweep inspector has brought together these offices to do some direct on the ground work with some of the needs that we have here in the community. So I'll provide more information and details on the meetup next month during our ANC public meeting for those that want to attend the walk. And nothing additional at this time. If you have any questions, you can always reach me at 5d05@anc.dc.gov. 5d06.
Good evening, viewing members. Commissioner Kathy Henderson. I want to use my time to talk about the Washington gas emergency that we experienced last Wednesday. It actually impacted all of our single member districts. However, I received a lot of calls and inquiries. The gas emergency has been contained, and approximately 300 residents have been affected. Their service was turned off. We want to make sure that their service gets turned back on promptly as possible. I ask that after a Washington Gas representative shows you his or her ID, that you allow them access to light your pilot to get your appliances back on. I had the pleasure of attending an open house this morning at 11 a.m. at 850 19th Street which is my former single member district. I'm very happy about this project because I advocated to remove this property as a blighted and trash strewn property. And I'm glad the mayor listened. And now this property has been restored and it is being made available to new owners, and it's affordable. So if anyone is interested, I noticed that some of my constituents were there this morning and you had follow-up questions. Feel free to contact me at 202-556-5823, and I'm happy to walk you through the process, including HPAP, to get you on board and in this property if you want it. People that live in the community should be able to stay in the community. And I look forward to speaking to anyone that is adversely affected by being displaced by this outsized development. And if you need some assistance, I can assist you.
Okay,
and I'm not finished. My 3 minutes is not up. I also denounce the Jim Crow-like effort to silence my voice and the voice of my constituents by disconnecting me during the last meeting prior to a vote. I have addressed this matter and the commission will be held accountable. This is inappropriate, and a lot of my constituents are still asking, and a lot of other constituents are still asking when the meetings are going to be in public, because the public at large feels like we're being excluded. And I can tell you that there is no legitimate reason to continue to hold these meetings via Zoom. The meetings should be held in public with the opportunity to call in if you need to. So it'll be a fight, good neighbors, but the people's voices will be heard and we will win.
Are you done, Commissioner? 5D07.
Good evening, everyone. This is Commissioner McCollum. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'd like to start off by stating that we conducted a walkthrough in my single member district on March the 30th. The walkthrough consisted of Ms. Kelly from Councilmember McDuffie's office, Oliver from Councilmember Parker's office, and Mr. Hunter from DDOT. We walked the neighborhood and looked at locations that pretty much were each of those entities or those agencies would be responsible for. We also had a representation from parking enforcement. Ms. Days, she was there with us as well. And so a little bit over an hour and a half, we were able to really walk the area and really just look at some areas that we're interested in addressing and put together some activities that we're going to be focused on executing in some of the hotspot areas here. We're not going to just allow the hotspot areas to just continue to just grow and then we don't do much. So we have a resource fair that we're interested in putting in coming soon. And so I wanted to definitely thank those individuals personally for coming out and walking the area with us and meeting some of our constituents that were there and present. I too did participate along with some of the other commissioners today in the open house. As Commissioner Henderson stated, this is an opportunity for affordable housing. I do echo that if there's anyone that's in our area specifically that could benefit from this type of housing, that you get in contact with me or one of the other commissioners that are here. This is an opportunity for affordable housing. If I'm not mistaken, I think the house that that's there, it's appraising right now for $600,000, but the city is putting it on the market for $400,000. So it gives individuals an opportunity to get a house at a reasonable amount. So I would be available to help anyone that may be interested in that. I also want to address during our last meeting, there was the commander or captain from the local precinct who came on and addressed the mobile camera that was placed at Bennett Place, Bennett and 21st Street. The night after or the next day following that conversation, when the captain said that mobile camera would need to stay in place, it was removed from there and it has not been put back. I was requesting that it would be put off of 19th in the alleyway behind Benning Road. and it's not there. But if you all can recall, during that meeting, it was stated that that camera was there and it was not going to move. And so now the camera's not there at all and we don't know where it is. So I am going to be addressing the precinct to find out where the camera is and what we can do to keep it here in our single member district, to kind of be proactive with crime. And then the last thing that I'd like to say, as it's been brought to my attention that there are members of the commission or member of the commission who are still representing certain single member districts as their district, I'd like to put everyone on note that for 5D07, the commissioner is Juan McCullum. And so all of my constituents, if you're listening tonight, I'd like you to know that in 5D07, I am your commissioner. I'm here for you and I'm available for you. And if you have anyone that's representing or misrepresenting and stating to you that they are your commissioner, please get in contact with me or any other member of this commission so that I can find out, because I do not appreciate someone acting as if they are the commissioner of my constituents. Yes, we all have our own constituents, and yes, we have our friends that live in different areas. But as it relates to 5D07, Juan McCullum is the commissioner for 5D07, and I'm interested in helping everyone, not a select handful. And so I wanted to go on notice tonight just to let you all know that I am aware, and I'm not going to be silent about it, but I do want to give a public notice first before I do start operating in a way that probably won't be the most friendliest or amicable way of handling it. Outside of that, I just like to again say thank you to all of those who did come and participate in the walkthrough. It meant a lot to me. And I'd also like to say that anyone that needs to get in contact with me, my contact information is available for you. And I look forward to working with you, going forward. But thank you so much for being here tonight. I am going to be hopping on and off because here in 5D07, there is a situation that's going on with a local resident here. So I'm actually jumping in and out and going outside and trying to help with that. So if you see me kind of go in and out, that's what's happening. But I will make sure that I'm back and forth to camera for you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D08.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Reed May, I'm the commissioner for 5D08. Just a couple of quick notes from me. I'll echo comments others have made about Washington Gas. If you're still having gas connection issues, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll do what I can to help you get in touch with the right folks. I have seen a number of staff members from Washington Gas out in the neighborhood this weekend. So they are coming around to help people get reconnected. I also wanted to mention that we had some illegal construction on M Street Northeast, 1916 and 1918 M Street. So I was working last week with the Department of Buildings and we had a stop work order put in there. I think we do this every meeting, but it's just a good opportunity to remind everyone that you need to have permits in order to conduct construction here in 5D. So wanted to make sure to mention that. I won't repeat what Commissioner Cobb and Commissioner Societe Guzman mentioned about TSIs, but definitely encourage folks to check out the dashboard to see the new TSIs that are prioritized for Q2. And I also wanted to mention that I will be doing a neighborhood walk on Sunday morning, starting at about 9 a.m. at 16th and Mount Olivet. I'm going to walk through my single member district. So hope to see folks out there. I'm going to walk through to look for anything that needs to be addressed, whether it be, litter, illegal dumping, sidewalk issues, things like that. And certainly if you see me on the street, I hope that we can connect and chat about anything that might be top of mind for you. All right, so 9 o'clock Sunday from 16th and Mount Olivet is where I'll start, but you'll see me all around 5D08. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D09, Commissioner Blacknell.
Yes, good evening, everybody. My name is Bernice Blacknell. I'm the ANC Commissioner for 5D09, and I just want to piggyback on what Commissioner McCollum said about other ANC commissioners interfering with other ANC commissioners, SMD. I am the ANC commissioner for 5D09. If you have any concerns and everything, you can please reach out to me. Also, the RV that was parked at the Arboretum, I was notified on last Saturday that it was removed. If anybody's interested in knowing what's going on with Spingarn, They finally put the fence up at Spingarn. We also requested that they put barbed wire on top of the fence. Also, there was some illegal construction going on M Street, 2213 M Street. The inspector was supposed to come out on last Monday. I have to check into that because I have not received any feedback from that. Also, on August the 19th from 10 to 5, it's License Day. Everybody is welcome to come out to celebrate License Day. It is License's 85th anniversary. And again, I would like for everybody that would like to come out to come out.
Can you repeat that date, Commissioner?
It's August the 19th and it's from 10 to 5.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, proceeding with the agenda, those were our commissioner reports. Proceeding with the agenda, we have our public safety report with the 5th district. We have a few folks here, I believe, or is it just Captain Merrill now? Oh, no, just a second.
Lieutenant Mumtaz, I'm over here as well.
Yes, promoting you right now. There's an echo. Do you have two? Okay. Okay, gentlemen, whenever you're available, feel free to go ahead.
Good morning. I'm sorry. Good evening, commissioners and everyone out there. Just wanted to speak to you guys about the stats going on in ANC crime, in the ANC 5D area. My name is Captain Merrill. I believe we have Lieutenant Mumtaz and Lieutenant Gaines hopefully on here as well. Just to go over some of the stats, from the last 30 days, we've had 1 homicide, 1 sexual abuse, 4 assault with deadly weapons. 2 of those were domestics, 9 robberies. Last month we had 8 robberies, so that was a 13% increase. 4 ADWs, that's a 50% decrease from last month. We only had 1 burglary, which is also a 50% decrease, and only 12 theft from autos, which was a 37% decrease. So we're looking much better with that. In reference to the commissioner that said something about the camera at 21st and Bennett, that camera was picked up by our technical branch and has been modified. It's going right back out there to where it belongs. It's just going to be better than it was. So it wasn't moved to a new location. It was just taken by our technical branch to be modified. So if you guys have any questions or anything, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
I'll open the questions up to the commissioners going down the roll call. 5D02.
Yes, Captain Merrill, I know the guy that committed the homicide at the Ivy City Motel, I know he was apprehended, but do we know if any other information, like did he live in the area? Was he a resident of any other places in the surrounding areas?
How you doing, Commissioner? Thank you for that question. We really can't release any information on him right now. There's some circumstances that our detectives are investigating, so we're really not releasing too much information on him at this point. But he is, he is under arrest. He has been questioned, and he has been, like I said, he has been arrested for that murder. But there are some certain things that we have to investigate before we can start releasing details to the public. My apologies for that.
No problem. What about the motel or motel?
Yeah.
Is there additional surveillance around the motel, and how is the owner cooperating? Because this is not the first time there's been some issues at that motel.
You're absolutely right. Ivy City Motel continues to be an issue for us. We just issue straight subpoenas now, basically, for them to get all their videos and stuff. So we don't even deal with the interference and stuff like that. So We just come with subpoenas, so we get what we need. We don't even really ask for it anymore. We just go straight the legal way.
Okay. Thank you.
5D03, any questions, Commissioner? Okay, 5D04.
No questions. Thanks.
Okay, Captain Merrill, just a quick follow-up on the homicide that occurred of the young woman that was stabbed to death. That's the second woman that was stabbed to death in Ivy City this year. Star Jackson was also stabbed to death in Ivy City earlier this year at the beginning of the year. Was there any connection with those homicides?
Not that I've been told, but as you know, that area there's a certain element of people that are in that area, so it's an area where we just have it's individuals that give us issues in that area, but I haven't been told that those are connected. No, I have not at this time.
Okay. It's just out of curiosity, since that's the second woman that was stabbed to death, not shot, not overdose. Like it was a literal stabbing. So that was my concern. Other than that, things have been semi-quiet and calm as of right now, but the summer's approaching, so I'm sure that'll change. So we appreciate y'all's work and efforts out here.
I do have another question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Commissioner.
Chair. Captain Merrill, with the issue of smoking marijuana out in public. Now, what is the procedure for that?
You mean as far as
how are y'all responding to that if you see it? What makes y'all act on it, I guess?
I mean, it's illegal to smoke on public space. So if we see an illegal act, we're going to act on it. Officers, they should be making the arrests on that. There shouldn't be any equivalent. They shouldn't be trying to get out of any of those, but those arrests should be made when they see those. And if you see any officers or anybody that's not making those arrests, please let me know, and I'll definitely address that. But smoking marijuana on public space is illegal. So yes, and we do make arrests for those still.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
5D06.
Yes, I wanted to let the viewing public know that this is Commissioner Kathy Henderson. I am the creator of and the coordinator of 5D Court Watch. And our organization will be following those two cases, the one in Ivy City, as we understand the offender in that matter is a repeat offender. And the purpose of 5D Court Watch is to shut the revolving door on crime and to really hold those offenders that continue to commit crimes and reoffend accountable. So we will look forward to the adjudication of this matter. And if there is a guilty plea or a guilty verdict, we will be writing a community impact statement.
Was there an actual question for MPD? Take that as a no. 5D07.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Captain, thank you for being with us tonight. I just wanted to address real quick. I think on the last conversation, you did mention that there was a camera that was on Bennett Place and 21st Street, and you told me and Commissioner Blacknell that camera would be there and it would not be moving. And I believe the next day, or at least 2 or 3 days after that, the camera was removed and it has not been there in the last 30 days. So I wanted to see if the captain can kind of give us, I mean, I know we can't get specifics about things, but I know it was publicly stated that it was not going to be moved and it couldn't be moved at my request to have it placed in another area. I just would like to know what happened or just give us some type of status as to where the camera is and if it's coming back.
Camera was taken by our technical branch, is being modified to be they're adding different software to it, and the camera is going right back to where it was. So it wasn't moved, it wasn't placed in a different location. It was taken by our technical branch to be modified, like all of our cameras are being right now.
Okay, thank you. And I did take your advice when you did state that we should probably do a walkthrough of the area. In the initial walkthrough, we did not ask for MPD to be present. I just wanted it to kind of first be some type of walkthrough where we kind of could assess what we wanted MPD to probably be there to help us with. And so we were able to have that walkthrough on March the 30th. I'd be interested to see if we could get with you to probably do another walkthrough, because I think Councilmember McDuffie's office did state that we should have had a member of MPD there when we did the walkthrough. It was just a difference of opinion about us having you all there at that time or not. But I would be interested in working with you all moving forward to get someone to be a walkthrough. On a last point, I'd like to say, I do note that, you know, up from where I reside, I do see police presence almost every night parked. And in that area, I'm not sure, you know, I don't work for the police, so I don't know what the crime is and why the police are there all the time. But I would just like to ask again publicly if we could have police to at least stop at the alleyway, if it's only for 5 minutes, and move, and then come back later and sit. But I would like to see some police presence at the corner of 19th and Bennett Street in the alleyway. I know we cannot move these individuals out of chairs that are sitting on on sidewalks, but in the alleyway, and it's now starting to spread out to the public sidewalk in front of individuals' row homes. So I'm now asking if we can just at least have, you know, a cop to just come and sit. If a cop is somewhere else in the city, over in this area, and they're writing a report, if they just come over here and just sit and write their report and then move on from there. But I would just like to see some type of presence. And it's not an attack on you. It's just that my constituents are calling me whenever they see police that are sitting up on the top of Maryland or close to 19th Street, and they see 2 and 3 police cars sitting there during the night. And then during the day, we have no presence down at 19th and Benning. So this is just a request that I'm just relaying because it's been coming to me from my constituents. So I wanted to give you just a few minutes to just talk to us about that.
We'll increase our presence there, Commissioner.
Captain Mayor, I'll just have a quick follow-up question on that.
Well,
Do you guys,
go ahead. Go ahead, Chairman. I'll come back. Go ahead.
do you keep record of when you do these post ups, like when you all have cars posted up at certain locations? Do you keep that data by any chance?
No, we don't have fixed posts anymore. The chief doesn't like fixed posts. We do hotspot policing now, so we don't have cars. They're not supposed to be just sitting in fixed posts. If we have someone doing a report or something like that, I will ask them to come to the alley on 19th Street. But our crime patrol people, they do make contact with those individuals daily. They're required to. We have 3 cameras facing those individuals at all times. So our officers are making contact with those individuals. They are checking in on them. It's a requirement. It's part of their hotspot policing. It's something that they must record. So they are making contact with those individuals on a daily basis. Now, as far as having an officer sit there and complete a report, I'll ask them to do that. But there's other locations that would like for an officer to sit there while they're doing a completing report as well. So I'll try and spread the wealth.
I just appreciate that. And I just wanted it to be something publicly because I'm not against the police. I'm for my constituents, but I'm for, you know, and so I just wanted something to be said publicly, because whenever I get phone calls in the middle of the night that says, hey, come out right now and look up the hill, and you can see police just sitting up there. And then when I see that 2 or 3 nights in a row, I mean, it requires some type of answer as to why there and not, you know, somewhere else. And so I do appreciate you clarifying that and also agreeing to have a little bit more presence. It means a lot. So I do appreciate you saying that.
Thank you, Commissioner. And if you don't have my phone number, I'll give it to you again and my email address. If something like that happens and you have concerns, please feel free to call me. We can address this before the public meetings.
Okay, no problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5D08.
No question.
Thank you, Commissioner. And 5D09.
Yes, hi. Good evening, Captain Murray. This is Commissioner Bernice Black now. I just want to piggyback on what Commissioner McCollum said, because one side of the street is his and the other side of the street is mine. And we do need police presence really in both of them alleys, because they just go from one alley to the next alley.
I got you, Commissioner. I understand.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely make sure we hit those alleys more.
And one more concern I have. The Arboretum. It used to be a police car that's where some people call it the back gate of the Arboretum or Merlin Avenue and M Street. It's not actually the back gate, it's the main gate. But police, we have a police car sit back there sometimes. Can that be arranged for just for a police car to sit back there just for a few minutes? Because we had an RV that actually stayed back there for a couple of months and it just was removed last Friday. So, just have a little bit of police presence, just to circle around there for just like I said, just circle around, because since it hasn't been any police present back there, just like I said, it was an RV back there. They set it up a mechanic shop back there and everything, and it was just removed last Friday.
Yeah, Commissioner, I definitely make sure our crime patrol units, they come down and go through that circle area more as well.
Thank you. And
Okay.
thank you for clarifying about the camera, because that's the next question I was going to ask.
I'm sure. No problem.
We have a couple questions from the public.
And I have a question for Captain Merrill. And as you can see, my hand is raised.
Commissioner Henderson, something's wrong with your video camera. I don't know if you want to check that out.
There's nothing wrong with my video. You may want to check on your end.
No, ma'am, it's you. Go ahead and ask your question so we can use our time wisely.
So, Captain Merrill, I just want to thank you and the team for the recent gun seizure. I'm not going to give the location because you all haven't released the press release yet, but we need you to continue to step it up. There's more drug activity. We're providing you with good intel. So there's no reason for us to spend the summer in fear of people sitting on our sidewalks, dealing drugs out of apartments. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, no question. First question from the public, Captain Merrill. How does one go about requesting a police mobile camera on 19th Street be serviced or calibrated? I was a victim of a hit and run, and the video quality that was made available to me was horrible. So it looks like it's a potential dysfunctioning camera that is on 19th Street.
Do they know, are you talking about 19th and Benning or 19th and I? Is there a location for that? The camera?
I'll let let Fumi Williams follow up on that. But when we potentially find a camera that might be dysfunctioning, broken, what's the proper protocol for residents or commissioners to get that addressed?
Well, if it's an MPD camera, we should be able to see that. So sometimes there's MPD cameras and there's DDOT cameras. If you notice an MPD camera damaged, just let me know. But you can also let 311 know. And also the text tip, which is 5511. I think they also take those requests as well. So if you hadn't noticed any of that, anything like that damaged, please just let me know and we'll get it taken care of immediately. But sometimes the footage that comes from DDOT isn't great as well. Sometimes our footage isn't great. So if there is a camera that anyone knows of that's damaged, please let me know.
That one was specifically at 19th and Benning.
Oh, okay. We have 3 of them there, so I'm not exactly sure which one. But I know which one they're talking about. I know which camera they're talking about. But they're dealing with that. That camera actually should be fixed by now.
Okay. Another question here, Anina Delfio. The camera at 21st and Benning is too wide to fit. 21st and Bennett is too wide to fit on Bennett Place. It makes driving down the street precarious. It also takes up much needed parking spaces from the residents while shining lights into our windows. Can it be moved to a different location or at least off Bennett Place, which is narrow and too small to house that camera?
Yeah, I'm it's never going to be 100%. But and I understand. I've driven down that street. I know how the camera sits. It's not that big of an obstacle to get around it traffic wise, but I do understand the people that live on that street. The lights, I understand I get it. I really do understand all of that. We've moved that camera in that location several spots. That location where it was is actually turns out to be the best as far as angles and everything that we need. So that camera probably is going to remain there. And I do apologize for the lights and all of that, but you know, it's there to protect lives, and I do understand it is an inconvenience for some. I do understand that, but unfortunately, there's really nothing I can do about that.
Okay. Commissioner McCollum, did you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarity on the question that was raised about the camera malfunction. I think you clarified it that the 19th and Benning, but also there was a hit and run on 19th and H. So that kind of jarred my memory. 19th and H during the night, there was a hit and run, and the camera that's on the corner, there's no footage there. So I wanted to just see if we could, that is a police camera there on the pole. If we could probably get some type of, maintenance on or service on that camera. I did put in a 311 service request from my official ANC email, but I had not heard anything back. This car accident took place about a week and a half ago, around 11:30, close to midnight. And like I said, the camera on 19th and 8th Street should have captured that right at that four-way, because it was right outside of the four-way. So I wanted to, when I heard that about 19th and Bennett, I wanted to bring that up too for the constituents that had reached out about that.
You said at 19th and H, that's what you
Yes,
said,
sir.
Commissioner, right? All
Yes,
right. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll check with the commander at the technical branch just to
Okay.
see if that camera has been repaired or not, because he'll have it on his list whether it's been repaired. And if it hasn't been repaired, when is it scheduled to be repaired? So I'll be able to report back to you about that.
Yep, and I'm glad you mentioned to me, Knight, about your email and number. We can't handle a lot of this just kind of personally, so I'll be reaching out to you after tonight.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any additional questions from the public. Captain Merrill, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Echoing what Commissioner McCollum said, ANC 5D will be following up with you to see if we can set up a time to discuss some of the domestic violence issues in Carver Langston, and see, I don't know, Captain Merrill, see we can coordinate maybe a drive around with Commissioner McCollum and Commissioner Black now to see what exactly they're referencing during the meetings, so we get that clarified for this summer, because it's just going to get hotter in many different ways.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know, we had a big event in Carver Terrace last week, domestic violence. We were able to get some good information out. And I was trying to get road signs. I was working with the councilman's office to get road signs with QR codes with all the information in reference to domestic violence, because we have a lot of people that they don't understand what resources are available and actually how to get to them sometimes. So we just had this QR code set up where you just hit the QR code and you get everything. So trying to get that on a road sign, a couple of big road signs in Carver Terrace, so that as people are just driving by, they can be in their own privacy of their car, click that QR code with their phone, and they have everything they need. So it doesn't have to be a big dramatic event for them. So we were working on that with the councilman's office, but we were able to give a lot of flyers out in Carver Terrace to let them know with that QR code on there. So any commissioners, if you guys have any domestic violence issues, we do have some flyers that we put up that has QR codes on it. And we've been going to buildings, like we know all the buildings that have a lot of domestic violence calls. And we've been making sure each one of those buildings has those flyers inside of them. And especially we've been giving them to the residents as well. We know which residents to target, but we're just giving them to everybody in that area, so we don't bring any undue attention to certain people. But there is a huge domestic violence problem in Langston and Carver and Langston Terrace, no question about it. And we did do an event, and we will be open to any other events in the future.
Okay, our time is up for you today, Captain Merrill. We appreciate you. If you could drop your contact information in the Q&A so people can quickly contact you if they need to have any additional questions that we couldn't reach you today, we would really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the mayor's office. And we're also have a special guest and on behalf of the mayor's office as well, outside of Mr. Ingram. We also have a director attending tonight. Mr. Ingram, you can go ahead and speak and introduce them if you like.
Okay, how you doing? I don't have no really update, but I would just like to say thank you for all my commissioners that came out today, for the open house, and thank you
Thank
guys for
you.
no problem, and thank you guys for all the hard work that y'all do for the community as well. And I would like to pass it over to the director, Delano Hunter.
All right, mic check. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Mr. Hunter.
Yes.
How are you?
All right, I'm doing well. First, I want to say good evening to everyone. I'd like to thank the 5D Commission for allowing me to present at your monthly meeting. And I am honored to serve as the acting director of the Department of General Services, which is a post that I just started. I'm familiar with some of you all from my capacity as the former director of the DC Department of Parks and Recreation. And I'm here today to talk about the FY24, or Mayor Bowser's FY24 proposed budget, which we're really, really excited about. I know that there's some interest in some of the projects that are proposed, from the corner lot on 19th and L, converting that to a park. And also, I am really proud of the mayor's proposed investment in Ivy City. And I know Commissioner Rose and all of you are as well. So even before I read the talking points, I just wanted to provide a quick update on that. And that is that I'm proud to announce that DGS and DPR, we have secured an architectural and engineering firm, a design firm. So it's called SORG Architecture, SORG Architecture. So that firm was onboarded last week. So we'll be reaching out to the community for our very first project kickoff meeting, and that'll be this spring. So I'm really, really excited about that. The current funding for Ivy or for Cromel is 20 million. The mayor has proposed an additional 15 million. So continue to advocate and share with your council member. I know Councilmember Parkers will believe in this. Hopefully the others also believe in the need for this investment. And I'm really, really excited about that as well. And then, of course, there is 400,000 that is proposed in the mayor's budget for park upgrades to a vacant lot at 19th and L. And I know we've heard from Commissioner Reed May, I believe, at the various hearings for the need for this investment. So I'm really excited. Now I just want to talk more broadly about the mayor's budget. This was a very, very tough budget season. In fact, this is the first reduction in budget since the 2008-2009 budget season. And we're facing a perfect storm of issues. The federal money that had been prevalent in recent years as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic is running out. Also, we've had a slowdown in our economy, most notably downtown, and we're now dealing with the very serious impacts of prolonged telework on our commercial property market. So that means our resources are shrinking while some of our fixed costs are rising. So in putting together this budget, the mayor understood that the top priority must be to right size our investments and build sustainability and resiliency into our spending. So we are still proud that this is the 28th consecutive balanced budget, and we know that our strong finances, which are critical to our success in responding to all that has happened over the past 3 years, are the result of many years, in fact, decades of responsible budgeting. So what you see before in the mayor's proposed budget are investments that build upon the foundation that have been laid for the last several years. And we've made big investments, but also we know we struggle to fill positions, and we're also investing in attracting a workforce necessary to realize the goals of many of these programs. And so now I just want to talk about a few investments in some various areas. First, in DC's comeback, which is for downtown, because downtown continues to be the engine that powers the district economy. There's 3.4 million proposed in small and medium business growth fund. So that's one of the things that we're doing now. In the mayor's proposed budget, there's an additional 1.5 million for participating businesses and creating open and open space modernizations. And also as it relates to education, here's something that we're doing now. There's $2 billion in funding from the uniform per student funding formula towards public and public charter schools. And in the mayor's proposed investment, there's an additional 116 million to support raising the wages of teachers in both public and public charter schools. And also there's a proposed 2.1 billion to continue modernizations or expansions of 40 public schools included in the PACE Act, and also some non-PACE projects, including cafeteria renovations and build outs in several schools across the city. As it relates to recreation, through the Mayor's Recreation for All proposal, we are expanding hours, including at several of the centers in Ward 5, including Trinidad and Arboretum. In fact, Trinidad's hours will expand once the hypothermia alert operations end on the 15th. Several dozen sites actually expanded the hours today, on top of an additional 8 that expanded hours. So I'm really excited about that. Most sites are going from 46 hours to 68 hours, and that's only made possible because we're able to increase staffing. And of course, with regards to capital investments, we've talked about Cremel, but there are also some other really cool things, such as an additional $750,000 to actually convert some sports to pickleball. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the nation. I know we hear a lot about it. If I could get a dime for every time I hear the word pickleball, I'd be a very rich man. But the truth of the matter is we also want to see pickleball expand on all 8 wards, and we want to make sure that all residents from all walks of life have an opportunity to engage in the sport. Moving along to some cool things, some great things that are happening in housing. Currently, the mayor has $10 million for a Black home ownership fund, and in FY24, she is proposing $8 million to increase available down payment assistance through HPAP. I know that was something that was mentioned by several commissioners, and also in addition, there is $115 million to rehabilitate and modernize public housing units that are managed by the DC Housing Authority. Moving along to public safety, right now there's $9 million in funding for the Safe Passage program, which is now under the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice for better coordination. And also in the proposed budget, there's $6.7 million in grants that are proposed for victims of sexual assault and other victim services, including crisis intervention and advocacy. And also, I know there was some mentions of the desire for more presence amongst members of the Metropolitan Police Department. The mayor is proposing $2.1 million and 18 additional staff to support the civilianization efforts, which will reduce the need for sworn officers to cover civilian roles and duties, which of course will mean more officers on streets. And last but not least, as it relates to transportation safety and mobility, there's $19 million to deploy temporary and permanent traffic calming measures, including $3.6 million a year for improvements around schools, and $5 million to create a transportation safety infrastructure program geared towards more equitable approach. So there's a lot within the mayor's budget across a number of areas, including $43 million for emergency rental assistance that we're doing now, and an additional $42 million that's proposed to support rental assistance through the Family Rehousing and Stabilization Program. But I'll pause there. And again, I just wanted to share the highlights. So with regards to where we are, the mayor released her budget to council on March 22nd. There have been a number of budget hearings for the past few weeks. I believe they continue into this week. And then towards the end of the month, the council will have an opportunity to propose their very first markups. And that process will continue on throughout the month of May and into June. And then the council will take a final vote on their budget towards the end of June before they go on recess, or early July before they go on recess for the summer. So that's just a bit about where we are. Still very early, but I'm very encouraged by the mayor's proposed budget. And I think there are some things that we all can be excited about. So I'll pause there for any comments that I can relay to the mayor's budget team, and any questions that I can answer from my perch at DGS.
Thank you, Director. Friendly reminder, I ask the public if you have any questions for Director Hunter to drop them in the Q&A. Please refrain from dropping comments. The Q&A is actually for questions and answers. So feel free to drop those in or raise your hand if you have a direct question on the budget presentation that was just shared. In terms of the commission, commissioners, are there any questions? 5D02.
Yes. Hello, Director Hunter. Hello.
Hello. Sorry about that. I was on mute.
I'm curious about the pickleball. Y'all are putting pickleball in all 8 wards, whether we want it or not. Is that what you were saying?
No, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. So we have proposed converting underutilized tennis courts to either pickleball courts or blend them to have pickleball and tennis. So we put forth a list of 17 proposed locations, but none of that will be done without community input. So we know that it's the right fit for some communities, some that are in close proximity to residents, just because of the distinctive noise, it might not be the best fit. But our main thing is we just didn't want communities that may not have been too exposed to the sport to miss out on this opportunity. So we know it may work for some, for others it's not their cup of tea. So that's the thinking behind it. None of those 17 proposed locations have been finalized. And in fact, we if this is passed, we'll only be able to do 2 to 4 of those 17 locations.
Okay, and then I know that you're the director of DGS. Will the school's HVAC systems, will they be working like everyone? Will they be working by the summer so that the recreation centers and where the pools are will have air conditioning?
Yeah, no, I know firsthand some of those challenges as a client agency, and it's tough to do, to educate and to recreate in uncomfortable conditions. I have been encouraged by the new preventative maintenance at our schools, right? So now, for the first time in many years, through this fiscal year, there's been more preventative maintenance of those HVAC systems. So fewer systems are going down. Also, we're replacing a number of systems across DPR and of course DCPS facilities. So we still got a lot of work to do, but it also, this budget includes an additional almost $6 million for more preventative maintenance for our HVAC systems. So I think we're turning a corner, but we still have some work to do.
Okay, thank you.
5D03, any questions? 5D04. Okay, I'm 5D05. Director Hunter, just a quick question. I don't know if you can answer this question since you were director of DPR. Is there a timeline for DPR to acquire Lewis Crow Park? My understanding that was the plan, but I don't know if there was any budgetary concerns or limits there that's kind of preventing that from happening.
Sure. So there's nothing currently budgeted for Lewis Crow Park, and those conversations continue between DPR, the Housing Authority, and also the Executive Office of the Mayor. Just for context, I remember when these conversations first really began to pick up steam a couple of years ago. At the time, even just last year, 1 year ago, it was just 20 million for the Cremel site and only the Cremel site. And then, within a matter of months, thanks to the advocacy of some on this call, including Commissioner Rhodes, we have the entirety of that 2-acre parcel. And now it's been right-sized to address building out that entire 2-acre parcel. And I know, of course, there's been leadership change within the Housing Authority board. And I don't know if they've taken a firm stance, to be quite honest, on to surplus or not. So those conversations sort of continue. And what I can say is that no decision either way has been made.
Understood. Thank you. I was able to thank the mayor today at her event for that extra 15 million that we got for Kamel. A Black youth center is definitely needed here in our area. My first neighborhood, my first stomping ground was Columbia Heights, and we have the Latin American Youth Center, and it's a beautiful community center that does a lot for the community. And we need one here for African Americans. So we're looking forward to what's in the works for Kamel in the future. I did bring up one concern, and I guess it kind of falls into maybe a budgetary question. We had a rec specialist moved from Trinidad Recreation Center to a different recreation center. I understand why DPR would make the move. He's a treasure full of talent, and we want to see, that kind of talent across the board in the district. But my question is, I guess, when it comes to individuals that mean so much to the community and are capable of doing so much for different communities, where is the opportunity for them to either get a promotion or a salary increase? This individual is moved with no such offer. So I'm curious, is that something that needs to be requested during budget season to get some of our government employees better opportunities, or just a stronger paycheck for the great work that they do?
Sure. We all know the increase in cost of living here in the district is a challenge for some. We try to. I know at the agency, there have been efforts made to right size a number of those positions. In fact, there was what we call. I don't want to get too technical, but there was a mass conversion of positions just 4 years ago, where that many of those were graded at lower grades were given increases. I'm not sure if that a person in particular was a part of that. And then there have been ample opportunities to apply and compete for positions. And I know sometimes I get it, right? It's challenging, but we all know the nature of just professional work. Sometimes, you have to apply and complete, and sometimes you may not have the luxury to kind of stay where you are. We try our best, or the agency tries their best not to move what we call community pillars, but sometimes, and I don't want to speak in specific to this gentleman, but sometimes in particular, there are some factors that the community may not be privy to that go into those decisions. So performance is just one factor, but I can tell you that that's not the only factor in deciding when to move a staff person.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I'll proceed with the rest of the commission. 5D06.
Good evening, Director Hunter. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming this evening, and congratulations on your new promotion. Very quickly, let me be very clear with regard to any asks for that space, that district-owned space at 19th and L. You are to communicate with me effectively at all times. I live on that block. My constituents have been very clear. They don't want a park. They don't want a dog park. They don't want anything that's going to upset the peace, order, and quiet of our community. I've been in contact with the council member. I let him know that we would appreciate a fence, a decorative, find some money for that. The cost is approximately $5,000. That would be a good start. We certainly appreciate the parking enforcement team that are keeping all those illegally parked vehicles there, but we're not accepting anything that disrupts our peace, order, and quiet. And we don't care what anyone else says who thinks that they have a right to advocate for something that the entire community cannot agree on. We agreed in the past on a garden, which is quiet, but my constituents are very clear. They don't want any opportunities for people to sit with their alcoholic beverages, their outdoor marijuana use, or any other illicit substance or issue that causes a problem for our community. And two, we need to find some extra money in the budget. Thank you for giving us an overview of the mayor's budget, but we need to find some extra money for DPW. Mr. Spriggs is telling people, that his agency cannot respond adequately because we can't switch from leaf season, to back to regular collection season. We didn't get any snow this year. This budget is less than what the fiscal 23 budget was. And I guess because he's waiting for confirmation, he's a little cautious about asking for some extra money. So we'll ask for him. I submitted a 36-page document to testify regarding DPW, and we want to make sure that critical core city agency is well funded, not only to serve my community, but to serve the entire city. So as we still grapple, with crime, we're already at 45 homicides and we're only 10 days into April. We want to make sure that the city is clean and that it does not attract lawlessness. And I'm a proponent, I say this over and over again, I'm a proponent of the broken windows theory. Where there's trash and disorder, there is crime. So we need to clean up. And that means every corner of ANC 5D, every corner of Ward 5, and all 8 wards to make sure that we help the police help us. So thank you. And I look forward to, as always, to chatting with you and to moving forward to do the difficult job to help to run our city. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll make note of your remarks and comments. Thank you.
5D08, Commissioner May.
I think you skipped 5D07.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
5D07. Go ahead.
It's all right. I really don't have any comments. I just want to say congratulations on your promotion. And I also would like to say thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for being detailed with your presentation. And I will be reaching out to you directly for some outside conversation that I'd like to have with you. But for tonight, I just want to say thank you for being here and thank you for a good presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioner May?
Thank you. Mr. Hunter, thanks so much for being here tonight. I definitely agree. I always enjoy hearing from you, and you give a great detailed overview. I wanted to ask you about, I think you mentioned emergency rental assistance, and I think one of the concerns with the budget, well, both the current budget and also the proposed budget for next year was the adequacy of rental assistance, because I know that this year's ERAP funding ran out pretty quickly. And so I wondered if you could circle back to that, and could you go over again how the mayor has proposed making emergency rental assistance available, and what, if any, plan you have to deal with potential higher rates of displacement as folks encounter economic difficulties?
Sure. So housing is not my swim lane, so I will not pretend to be able to speak on behalf of the mayor's subject matter experts. So I'm happy to get you in touch through our Ward 5 MOPR with the subject matter experts. What I spoke to was some current investments that the mayor currently has planned, and that is $43 million in emergency rental assistance and $146 million in permanent supportive housing and local rent supplemental program. So more than happy to connect you with the subject matter experts to give you that level of detail.
Sure, I appreciate that. I'll just, for the record, just want to share that that is, I think, a widespread concern across the city, just about whether there is enough support there to help residents stay in their homes, especially as we live in a strange economic time. Things are very fluid, but I know different folks are encountering challenges. So I wanted to ask you about that. I also I do want to thank you. You mentioned both the Carmel School, which I think everyone here is excited about. That's a great win for 5D and for Ivy City. So thank you for that work on behalf of 5D. I also do want to thank you for the work on behalf of Park Space in Carver Langston. That lot at 19th and L is one that, as you noted, I have been working with Councilmember Parker, Councilmember McDuffie's offices, and also have done some testifying and worked with residents to share their interest in Park Space in that space. There's a lot of excitement in the community about the mayor's proposed investment in Park Space at 19th and L Street. For the record, because there's been some conversation about it tonight, I do want to note no one has asked, no one that I've worked with has been asking for a dog park there. The focus has really been on a space for children, and so we want to create a space at 19th and L that will be a community space for kids. Maybe it's a playground, maybe it's another kind of park, but either way, I think it'll be a lively and engaged neighborhood space, not a place for any sort of nefarious activity. And so again, really appreciate the mayor's proposed investment. And like I said, I've been working with a lot of residents here in 5D08, but also throughout Carver Langston, who are excited about the prospects of a park there. So really appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll make note of that comment as well.
And Commissioner Black now, any questions for Director Hunter?
Yes, I only have two. Good evening, Director Hunter. I'm Commissioner Bernice Black now. I'm the ANC Commissioner for 5D09. I have been listening to you in reference to DC public schools and everything. I am the ANC Commissioner for what they call the schools on the hill, which consists of Spingarn that's going under renovation, Two Rivers 1 and 2, Phelps and Brown. I'm hoping Brown School Academy is in that budget for a new HVAC, and also you mentioned about the pickleball and the tennis courts. I would like to see the tennis court across the street from Brown be renovated and redone, and that would be a nice place for pickleball and also a tennis court. They have up for the tennis and everything, but it needs to be redone. So I'm asking in the mayor's budget, you can ask, could that space be put in there? It's not a recreation center, but it's an area that would be good for the kids at the schools to go and play pickleball, learn how to play pickleball, and also learn how to play tennis. Not only for the schools, but the constituents in Carver and Langston Terrace.
I agree with everything that you said. I'm a graduate of Spingarn, so I went to school on a hill.
Okay.
And I'm a proud Green Wave. So I certainly have a vested interest in the project there now on a personal level. And in fact, John Stokes told me to tell you hello. And I know he's been in.
I say hi.
I know
Yes.
he's been in contact with you, so we're excited. I know there've been a lot of break-ins to the school, and it's disheartening, honestly, to see the school in that condition. So I'm excited that it's going through modernization. And at this point, as a Spingarn alum, we just want to see any form of education in that building because we know what it represents. As it relates to the pickleball, as you know, we've talked about this before. That is federal property, but the National Park Service has been more willing than ever before to enter into agreements with the district to revitalize many of those properties. And I think a lot of that is just because of the fact that they're feeling more pressure from the public, right? During the pandemic, we even spaces that were considered tertiary and secondary are now seeing high utilizations, and folks want to activate these spaces in ways that they never before. So, speaking from the DPR perspective, now folks are interested in vacant lots. They're interested in federal properties. They're interested in converting, private land to use for some form of recreation. So I'm excited. I would encourage you, because just like there are a lot of communities saying, hey, we don't want pickleball, we don't want pickleball. It'll be good to hear from you saying, yes, we would be interested in exploring what that could look like if it means revitalizing that asset. So I would encourage you to, advocate and lobby. Of course, there's some additional barriers, but in order for local money to be invested in that property, we would have to enter into a cooperative management agreement with the NPS. And again, they've been more willing now than ever before to enter into those types of agreements. So I would encourage you to, when I do my readout and my notes afterwards, I'll let Brent Cisco and the folks know from DPR that you would be interested in exploring, not obligating you, but you would at least be interested in having a conversation about what that could look like.
Yeah, because it's just been sitting there.
It's looked the same since I went to school there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's been like that since the 70s. I've been living in this area since the 70s. And it's been like that.
Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner. Just following up with some quick questions from the public before we let you go, Director. Are there any plans or budgets allocated to add metro near Carver Langston area? I guess the question really is, is there any budgeting towards an increase in public transportation options here in DC?
I am not familiar with any. There are some transportation investments as a whole. I'm not sure if they are specific to the Benning Road, Carver, Langston 5D community. But I do know I can share that there's 36 million for bike lanes and also the expansion of Capital Bike Share. And then there is 114 million to continue building bus-only lanes and other priority bus treatments to make bus travel safer and more reliable. So those are just some broader transportation investments, but I'm not familiar with any push to expand metro to that community in particular.
Understood. On that pickleball topic, will any of the courts that potentially will be approved located in residential communities, more specifically in Ward 5? I think you mentioned there's 17 or so many potential sites and only a few will get approved.
Sure. So off the top of my head, there were just 17 potential locations, and that list isn't exhaustive. But some I know in particular in Ward 5, one was Dakota Park, which is again located in close proximity to residential housing. And if you think about it, with the exception of our large standalone parks like a Fort Lincoln or Oxen Run or a Fort, Marvin Gaye, they all are in some proximity to houses. So again, it's just a matter of, for us, it's going to be a matter of if the community is interested in those assets. So like,
Perfect.
for instance, and this is just, so we know that this alone won't do it. The agency has a three-pronged approach to growing pickleball. So one, when we do capital renovations, who knows? Commissioner Rhodes may love it and say, hey, we want a pickleball court at Carmel. So you know that's separate funding that wouldn't be a part of that 750,000. And then the second prong approach is we would love to build pickleball and more tennis hubs, right? More, because tennis is growing as well. Tennis grew during the pandemic as well. And then of course the third prong would be this sort of standalone conversion.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, Director. If you can direct us to who to contact, whether it would be Mr. Ingram from our Mokers or yourself, to follow up with any questions. We're way over time, but we appreciate the time you did give us and allow to answer some of the questions that we had here.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, Mr. Ingram is a great point of contact. I'll place my information in the chat as well. If I can help facilitate it and get you answers, I'm more than happy to connect you with my various colleagues. I'll place my email in the chat as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunter, and thank you, Mr. Ingram, as well.
All right, take care.
Next up on the agenda, we're a little bit behind on the time, but next on the agenda, we have the Ward 5 Council Member's Office. We have Mr. Oliver Stout attending, and he'll be able to speak on some of the stuff that the Council Member's Office is currently working on. And we already have some questions on that walk over here in 5D05. So Oliver, when you're available, feel free to go ahead and take the reign.
You guys can hear me okay? We're all good? Hello,
Yes, sir.
guys. Oh, welcome. Well, I'm welcome to be here. I hope everybody had a good Easter. So I'm gonna get into some of the highlights that we have. First, I'll go into our Ward 5 Public Safety Plan. Then I'll get into the Ward 5 wins in the mayor's proposed budget, which Mr. Hunter did an excellent job in explaining that in detail. So I'll stay real short on that. We'll also go into the school safety legislation and then the upcoming events in Ward 5 for us. So the council member gave his public safety plan in response to violence in Ward 5 community. This plan provides both short-term and long-term approaches to our city's pressing public safety needs. So this would be through strategies. The main strategies that he spoke of and was listed is the streamlined communication and coordination, which was making sure that we're coordinating with meetings with the ANCs, MPD, FEMS, the ONE's office, and the Attorney General's office. And we will also be conducting targeted neighborhood outreach to inform neighbors of recent crime patterns, as well as city resources, and create a community safety hub. We also, like the MPD had already spoke of, is targeting hotspots. We will work with the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement to implement rolling safe passage to support children and traveling to school, as well as expand safety tools. So we were advocating for improved camera quality that includes motion light detectors and the MPD rebate program. Also, we would connect our communities. We want to identify neighborhood, bring back block captains. I know Trinidad and Ivy City, Miss Rhodes and Mr. Lewis, I think he was a block captain. So we want to bring those back. We also want to pass and fund the School Safety Enhancement Act. Also, we also are improving the district public safety apparatus through policy and advocacy, which is to improve the Metropolitan Police Department and Office of Unified Communications, oversight and policy. And I also want to go into the Ward 5 wins for the mayor's proposed budget. As Mr. Hunter had already spoke of, it was 15 million additional funds for Carmel School, the site renovation in Ivy City, also the 26.6 million for the New York Avenue streetscape, and bike safety trail, MBT, which is like the improvements of sidewalks, street lights, planting, tree hubs, and benches, and also the accelerated construction of the Arboretum Bridge and Trail, which connects the National Arboretum to Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens, and then the 800,000 for the two new parks. The one will be in Riggs Road and South Dakota, and as well as the 19th and L in Carver Langston. Another one is our increasing the child care voucher from 250% to 300% of the poverty line to help more families grappling with the high cost of childcare in the district. And now we would also get into our school safety enhancement plan. School Safety Enhancement Amendment Act, which the council member Parker had introduced legislation that addresses the school safety a couple weeks ago on March 24th. This bill was to seek to expand the school's capacity for preventing and responding to school and safety incidents. And also want to get into our upcoming event. So we have the Attorney General is going to be conducting his citywide engagement listening tour, and he'll be in Ward 5 on Tuesday, April 25th. So you guys can mark that on your calendars. It'll be at 6 p.m. at Lamar Riggs Neighborhood Library. This will be an engaging conversation for neighbors about the work of the Office of Attorney General, also the community's concerns, and any ways for everyone to collaborate with the OAG's office. And because space is limited, I have a link for everyone if they want to join. You'll have to RSVP. So I can drop that now into the link. Oh, I just sent that a direct message. I'm sorry about that.
We'll make sure it's on the Q&A.
All right, that's perfect. Also, more upcoming events. Saturday, August 26th will be Ward 5 Day. We will be looking forward to having everyone in Ward 5 be a part of this special day. So it's still in the planning phases. So if you guys have any suggestions across the ward, feel free to add those in and reach out to us, and we'll have more information to come for that. Also, we will be convening our Ward 5 bus network task force this month. We'll be working on the feedback for WMATA's Better Bus Network to redesign the project when they release their proposals later this month. Also, last week, we sat with me and Commissioner Blackmail, she joined as well, for the Brown SIT, which is the school improvement team. The design team had gave a layout of the proposed design options for the Brown modernization project. The design was explained, they explained existing conditions and the new renovation options. This session was just the first feedback of a driven approach where they're gathering community members to elaborate on what they thought, what those options they would like to choose. So the community will be elaborating on this later. We will be engaging on Tuesday, April 11th at 4:30. So that'll be the engagement process to the options that they had provided us before. Also, as Commissioner Salvador had already mentioned, we'll be in Trinidad on Wednesday, the 12th, speaking to neighbors and hearing their concerns and also providing our resources. Commissioner Salvador will be joining us along with Cure the Street. So feel free to welcome us with open arms. And I believe that's all that I have. So any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Stout. Can you just repeat real quick the Ward 5 Day date?
The Ward 5 date will be the 26th of August.
26th.
Saturday, August 26th. It'll be at Turkey Thicket. And again, we're still in the planning phases. So if you guys have any suggestions of what you guys believe that you want for Ward 5, just please reach out to us and let us know.
Perfect. I'll start with questions from the commission and then proceed with public questions. Friendly reminder to the public to use the Q&A feature to drop your question so we can go ahead and answer that directly. Starting with the commission, 5D02, any questions?
You all are coming out this Wednesday?
Yes, this Wednesday will be out.
At what time?
It'll be from 12 to 3.
Okay.
Trinidad.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, 5D03, any questions for Mr. Stout? 5D04.
Yeah, just real quick, going back to the Trinidad Day, that'll be Wednesday from 12 to 3. Where can we find you in the neighborhood?
So we're going to be walking all throughout the neighborhood. We'll start at West Virginia and Mount Olivet, and then go from there. We're going to try to also knock doors as well as visit the Trinidad Rec as well. So we'll be all over the community.
Great, thank you.
Okay, 5D05 is myself. I don't believe I have any questions at this time. Thank you. Just let the council member know and your team know. Thank you for doing some outreach our way here in South Ward 5, specifically in the Trinidad area. We appreciate y'all taking time and effort just to come out and walk. This is only my third year as a commissioner, so we've never really had a council member come out of their own way to do this. Usually it's us begging them to come. So we appreciate y'all just, doing it out of your own courtesy and time. So we appreciate that a lot. 5D06.
Good evening, Mr. Stout. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, first of all, thank you for the walk. 2, we've talked. I've met with the council member. You've been in that meeting. I represent a portion of Trinidad, and I would appreciate being informed about every effort on behalf of the good citizens that I represent. I am not going to share a government email with the Office of ANCs. I don't have exclusive access to that email, and at this time, I can't even get access to it. So I've given you my email address. I haven't received any emails from you. I expect that I should receive them. Any walks in Trinidad should include me and my constituents. And I'm going to reach out to the council member to make sure that that happens. I'm very protective of my constituents' interest. We have lots of concerns, and I want to make sure that we are always included in every priority that this city has. And just one final thing, I misspoke about the 45 homicides just 10 days into April. No, that was 45 homicides last year. We're already up to 60 homicides. So crime continues to be a serious concern. So we are not going to get into a situation where we're going to minimize the need for police, minimize the need for constant vigilance about maintaining the public safety gains that we've achieved. We do not want to be dragged back to the past. We are not going back to the past. So anytime, this whole park issue has become needlessly divisive, everyone loves green space, but we want to make sure that we serve as best we can the needs of all the constituents. And I'm very adamant, we're not making any comfortable spaces for people and their drinks and their illegal activities. We are not. So if I need to say that more vocally, if I need to send out press releases, if I need whatever I need to do to protect the interests of my community, the citizens that I represent, I'm going to do that without fear or favor. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And just to make it clear to the public, Trinidad is the largest neighborhood here in South Ward 5, and it has a composition of 4 different commissioners. And the council member's office is making an effort to come specifically to the area, Mount Olivet, between Ivy City and Northern Trinidad. 5D07, any questions? McCollum, you might be away handling that issue he was mentioning earlier. 5D08, any questions?
Appreciate you being here, Oliver, and thanks for the updates. Just because I think it's important to repeat this. Residents are very excited about the investment in park space in Carver Langston. And we're looking forward to creating a comfortable, welcoming space for children to recreate and enjoy themselves. Thank you again.
Problem.
And Commissioner Blacknell, any questions from you? Okay, none from Commissioner Blacknell. Going into the questions from the Q&A from the public.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Hold on. I don't have any questions. Could you follow what we had discussed it earlier?
Say again? I didn't, you
Did
kind of
he hear
broke up.
I said, I don't have any questions. Just could you follow up with what we talked about earlier?
Yes, for sure. I will certainly do that.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Going back to questions from the public, I don't see one specifically for you, Mr. Stout. There is one question. How does one go about contacting the owner of an unkept vacant lot that is harboring rodents? The first step would be to contact the Department of Buildings. Their website is very user-friendly. You can go ahead and reach out to the DOB regarding the vacant lot. In terms of rodents, that's an easy 311 request. And luckily, right now, they have been very quick to respond to these requests. I submitted one just last week for a couple of my residents out here off of Trinidad Avenue, and they came out within 3 days. So if you need any assistance with that, feel free to reach out to your commissioner and we can help get you on the right path to address some of those concerns.
Also, Mrs. Moore, I know which lot you are referring to, and I did do some research on that. That is a company that owns that lot, and I'll be reaching out to you tomorrow sometime with my finding.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Stout. I don't see any additional questions from the public. We'll proceed with the agenda. Mr. Stout, thank you so much for joining us today on behalf of Councilmember Parker's office, and looking forward to seeing you later this week.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, moving on with agenda, we have some requested presentations. If anyone from the ONE's office, anyone from NARC or the Violence Interruption Program is on the presentation, please raise your hand so we can promote you to panelists. We're no longer having that presentation from DPR. And proceeding also with the Office of People's Counsel. I believe we do have a representative available today as well. Let's see. Ms. Jefferson, are you here on behalf of one of those offices? Oh, you took your hand down.
Yes, I am. I'm here with the Office of the People's Counsel.
Okay, perfect. I'll promote you to panelist. And you can go ahead, if no one from the ONE's office or any of the violence interrupters are on, we'll let you go ahead and start. Whenever you're out, you're muted, Ms. Jefferson, if you were speaking.
Okay, you want me to speak first?
Yeah, it looks like we don't have our other folks on at the moment, so you can go ahead and start. Just tell us a little bit about the office and how we can engage it as residents here in 5D.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me see if I can pull up my camera. I guess that would be a little helpful. I am Linda Jefferson, and I'm the Interim Director for the Office of the People's Counsel. On your agenda, you have our outreach specialist, Mr. Denise Braxton, who was unable to be with us this evening, but we did not want for us not to be here, so we felt it was important that we would show up. I want to thank Commissioner Rose, who invited us, and hopefully we will bring some helpful information to your commission, as we have worked with the commission over the years with Commissioner Henderson and Commissioner Moore, some of the other commissioners that you've had over a number of years. So we thank you. The Office of the People's Counsel is your utility lawyer. As the utility lawyer and the advocate for DC residents, the Office of the People's Counsel advocates for district government consumers of water, electric, natural gas, and land telephone services. Our office has been in operation. It was established in the 1930s. In the 1950s, it was closed, and it was reopened in 1975 because of the cry of the people for the public utilities. As you know, Washington Gas, Verizon, Pepco, and DC Water are public utilities. The office, as we represent consumers who pay the public utilities, we will investigate, we will negotiate on behalf of consumers when it comes to disconnections, service complaints, third-party suppliers, utility bill disputes, payment arrangements, energy efficiency, consumer education, and solar energy resources. Our office, as I said, as we were reopened in 1975, and we appear before the Public Service Commission, who is the regulating body, as we serve as the advocate when it comes to DC residents. We also appear before the Court of Appeals on behalf of DC residents. We have most recently moved, and I will put that in the chat. We have moved to 655 15th Street Northwest after being at 1133 15th Street Northwest for over 30 years. But our office has recently moved, and we do welcome one of the things that as we were still in the process of moving, we wanted to invite the new ANC commissioners to our office and to talk about the things that the office does for consumers in the District of Columbia. We are planning, and we're having a climate summit, a youth conference, and this is going to be on April the 29th. And I will, if it's okay, I will share our flyer with you and would ask that you would disseminate it to your consumers, your constituency. We will be targeting an area of 16 to 29. As we know, the climate control is one of our major effects that are going on now each day. So I'll stop talking, just in case. I guess I had my 5 to 8 minutes, and I don't want to over talk. But in case there are any questions, we do ask. Our doors are open, even during the pandemic. We were still open.
Oh, you muted yourself, Ms. Jefferson. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes, I said you always get a live voice when you call the Office of the People's Council. So we do welcome you to call us at any time, and we are always available. And I did not say who my director is. My director is Sandra Matavu Fry.
Thank you, Ms. Jefferson. Well, thank you for attending tonight and sharing a little bit about the office in terms of what you all do. I'll open again up the questions to the public, use the Q&A feature, drop any questions that you might have for Ms. Jefferson tonight, and I'll start with the commission. 5D02, any questions?
No questions. I appreciate the information that you shared, Ms. Jefferson.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D03, any questions?
No questions. Thank you so much for presenting.
5D04, any questions, Commissioner Cobb?
No questions, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a quick question, Ms. Jefferson, from me from 5D05. When it comes to community engagement, what does that usually look like with your office and residents of the district?
When we engage the community in a number of ways, we always invite, as we're out with you all tonight, and we're willing to come out and speak on the office and talk about rate cases and different things, and opportunities also to have you as the commissioner to be more informed in reference to the Office of the People's Council. We're on social media, all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And we also, we are, one of the things I didn't speak about, and I won't speak that long, but some commissioners may be aware that Verizon is changing out the copper line, transferring it to fiber optic in people's homes. Some of you may have got letters in response on that matter. We are developing a partnership with Verizon, PSC, which is the Public Service Commission, Department of DACA, which used to be Department of Aging, and also with AARP to get information out to especially the seniors and a lot of the disabled who really rely on their landline. So we use all the platforms that most of the government agencies do when it comes to community engagement.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. Commissioner Henderson.
Good evening, Acting Director Jefferson. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Please give my regards to Director Madavu Fry. Your office has done some really heavy lifting for the community over the years, and we really appreciate you. Regarding the Washington gas issue, we had there was a Washington gas emergency that affected our community last Wednesday. And I received an inordinate amount of calls and emails about the smell of mercaptan. As most people know, or if you don't know, gas is odorless, and the additive mercaptan is added to, that's what that characteristic gas smell is, that's mercaptan. And it's very nauseating. And a lot of people were really alarmed about this. There was no notification to any of the ANCs. And we want to make sure going forward that that never happens again. There needs to be a good, solid communication protocol in place so that everyone knows how to respond to their respective constituents. I was receiving calls from neighbors over in Ivy City because people were upset. And no one seemed to, so I walked the community. I actually found where the source of the gas leak, not because someone told me where it was, but because of the smell was so close to our homes in 5D06 that I was able to speak with the supervisory team at Washington Gas that were on site. You know, they worked throughout the night to change the, deteriorated pipe that caused the leak. It ruptured. It was a 1935 pipe, I'm told. I've also reached out to the Public Service Commission to make sure that we have solid protocols. I can't say that enough, to make sure that when something like this happens, everyone's on the same page so that we don't have a communication shutdown and a resulting panic. And one final issue, Washington Gas is charging fees for new service, to set up new accounts and to put people on payment plans. And during these times of raised interest rates and people having difficulty with rent and general economic concerns, we don't think that one of our major utility companies should be engaging in this practice. And certainly I would like to ask that you take a look at it and follow up with us. So again, I'm so happy that you were able to join us this evening in place of Ms. Blackson. And we look forward to you continuing to be a very, very strong advocate, not only for 5D, but for all of our citizens. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. And we most certainly will. You know we will. And I will definitely be looking into the smell from last week of gas in 5D06, as well as I will definitely look into the fees to my knowledge. But of course, like I said, I'm not the expert in the area, but I always have people I can go to, as you know. And I will definitely look into the fees of for new services where Washington Gas is concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, I don't see Commissioner McCollum's camera on at this time, so he might have stepped away. 5D08, Commissioner May, do you have any questions?
I don't, but I appreciate you being here, Ms. Jefferson.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Commissioner Blacknell, any questions from you?
I have no questions. They're coming out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Um, looking at the questions from the public, just a quick question from Skip Keats. Why was there no notification sent out to near residents? This is in reference to that gas leak that's been mentioned a few times tonight. I live a block away from where the leak was on 17th Street per the gas leak. However, I had to ask workers what was going on. I could spell it. People should have been evacuated. Um, Ms. Jefferson, when it comes to these kind of situations, is there a protocol in place in terms of notifying residents?
Normally what happens is that when Washington Gas or any of the utilities, they have something that has affected the consumers, they contact the PSC and they also contact OPC. I will have to go back and look and because they get sent to our engineer and he gets that information. I was not aware of the smell. That was in your community. We have a couple of our employees who live in Trinidad or in that area. So, but no one had mentioned it to me. And so, but there is a protocol that is supposed to be in place, but I won't try to say, obviously, if the ANC commissioners, because you all, I know at one time, ANC commissioners were definitely notified in reference to what was going on in their block, in their district. So I will, can you give me the exact 100 block of the gas smell?
The leak was actually at the 1700 block of H Street Northeast.
Okay. Okay, and I'll get back with you, Commissioner, commissioners, and I will also, the gentleman, if you drop your email in the, if it's okay with the commissioner, if you drop your email in the chat, I will respond to you as well.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Jefferson.
specifically the 1700 block of 17th Street. It was right across from the Heckinger Mall Safeway.
Okay, all right, got it. Thank you.
And you mentioned, Commissioner Henderson, that the smell was always here in Ivy City. Can you give that exact area where that smell was in Ivy City?
Just some of the neighbors over in Ivy City reached out and they were confused. What is that? Why are we smelling that? And it was a really concerning situation.
Okay. Okay, I'll get back to you over what I find. Okay, and I'll look in the chat for the gentleman's information, if that's okay.
Or they were in fact impacted.
Skip, if you could just drop your email in the Q&A for, oh, I'm sorry. It's skip.keats, skip.keats at gmail.com.
Okay. You will hear from us. Thank you. And I'll drop my information in the you want me to put it in the Q&A or in the chat?
In the Q&A if you can, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, proceeding with the agenda. We don't have our violence interruption folks here tonight. We'll get them at a later date for sure. We just had OPC present, so we're moving forward with some voting actions for the commission. So we're good on time right now. And after these 3 voting action items, we'll allow the community to ask some questions or give us some feedback, and then adjourn tonight's meeting if the commission is okay with that. Let's see, do we have anyone presenting on the Union Market parcel C2 UPUD? If you are, Commissioner Cobb, do you have a question?
I just want to give my standard disclosure that for this voting item, and for 1400 Montello, the BZA case, I have to recuse myself due to ethical obligations with my federal government job. I can vote on the second item, the street cafe request. But I will have my mic and camera off for the other 2 requests, so I am still here. I'm not ignoring anyone. I just have to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you again for the transparency as always. I don't see anyone here for our PUD project. I don't see Todd in the attendees here. Commissioners, do you see anyone? They presented at our COW last meeting. I don't see anyone from that group. I do see Carlos Iglesias available to start to discuss the street cafe request. Is anyone here for the BZA case 2885 1400 Montello Avenue Northeast? Marty Sullivan. We have a few Marty Sullivans. Mr. Sullivan, can you confirm which presentation you're here representing? Are you there, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Commissioner.
Can you confirm what you're presenting on today?
Yes, I'm here for Montella, for 1400
Okay.
Montella.
Okay, perfect. So we'll wait on you for a quick second. If you could just cut your camera off so we can allow Mr. Iglesias present, and then we'll let you go ahead. Mr. Iglesias, you should have the option, I believe, to join the meeting as a panelist. Are you there, Mr. Iglesias?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect.
How is everyone? Good evening.
Doing all right. We're moving along, so it's going. You're here tonight to discuss this project in Union Market, the street cafe request.
Correct. I also had another application that I was supposed to be presenting today, 801 17th Street. If you recall, I presented two cases last month, and both parties should be on.
That is correct. Once you finish this, I'll make a motion if we can add that for you to present on that as well.
Okay, thank you. My client, Jake Leland, should be on. He is the owner operator.
Yes, Lee Rogan's here.
Great. All right, give me 1 second. Let me just pull up our files and I will get started immediately.
Mr. Iglesias, can you confirm the address for the streetscape project that you were also referencing?
Sure. It is 550 Moore Street, Northeast, application number 181005, with the filed under the DDOT top system. It is for a sidewalk cafe application in front of the eating establishment known as Crooked Run Fermentation.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, let me just one last moment here. Bear with me one moment, sorry.
And while we wait, Mr. Iglesias, can you confirm the address for the second project off of 8th
801.
Street?
Yes, 801 17th Street, Northeast.
17th Street.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll find, okay, I see how this is, okay. Sorry, bear with me.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? You said 801 17th Street Northeast?
Yes. That is correct.
To make use of time wisely, commissioners, I do make a motion that we go ahead and add the additional project being presented by Carlos Iglesias Group at 801 17th Street Northeast, which was also presented at our last COW meeting 2 weeks ago. Can I get a second to allow this project to also be presented at tonight's voting action item?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Reed.
Discussion.
Yes, Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, can you please, Mr. Iglesias, can you provide the cross streets for that location, 801 17th Street Northeast?
Sure. H and I, Northeast.
So we're voting as the affected commission because it's not located within 5D.
It is located within 5D 07, I believe.
It's the new project
It
on
is.
17th Street where the birthing center used to be.
It's on 17th Street between H and I, across from the Safeway and Heckinger Mall.
Well, I haven't had an opportunity to ask my constituents about their input, and then there's been no representation for 5D01. So the property, the cafe at, let's see, the Sidewalk Cafe, the Crooked Run should be tabled until such time as we've had an opportunity to hear from constituents. This is not, and if we need more time because of the BZA, then so be it. But we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to weigh in on this project.
The committee of
And
the
I
whole.
still haven't even received the project as I requested.
The committee of the whole did hear presentations on both of these
Well,
projects.
we're not
at our
required
March
to
meeting.
go to any committee of the whole. The committee of the whole presentations are not public
Commissioner Rhodes,
meetings.
can you keep time of this discussion because
They're
we're about
not
to end the
public
time?
meetings.
That's
So you
actually
can't
not
take
true.
any action in the committee.
Commissioner
of the whole.
Henderson, our
They are
COW
public
meetings
meetings.
that you have not been attending are
They are
public
not
meetings.
public meetings.
They're available on YouTube.
And
You
you
can watch
cannot take
them.
any
You
action
can
at a committee
watch
of the whole
them.
meeting.
You can, and
We
we
didn't.
haven't, and that's why we're
You can
having
have
them
it,
at
but you
today's.
can't take any action. So that's
That's
improper.
We
good for
didn't
you,
take
Commissioner.
action. That tonight is the action. We just heard a presentation and it
No,
was
we haven't had
available
any
for members of the
presentation.
public.
So
to
then I guess
listen.
I'll have to reach out to the Office of the Attorney General for you taking action that forecloses on the ability of my constituents to participate.
Commissioner Henderson, it's probably wise for you to actually attend a working meeting with the rest of your colleagues.
So it's wise for
You
you
failed
to
to
follow the
attend
law.
any of them because you don't want to. You don't want to act collegial with anyone
You're
in
not
this
collegial.
commission.
You disconnected me from the last meeting. So what's
And
collegial
we
about
called
that?
you back and you made it clear that you didn't want to attend.
That's a farce. We're not going to go through
Discussion
this.
is over.
We're talking
Thank you, Commissioner.
about making sure that the
Discussion is
community
over.
Discussion is over. We're going to go ahead and start the presentation per the agenda on this Sidewalk Cafe in 5D01, specifically Union Market. Mr. Iglesias, when you're available, please start.
All right. This application is for Sidewalk Cafe for the Crooked Run fermentation establishment, eating establishment. My client and restaurant owner operator is proposing to establish a Sidewalk Cafe in this location in front of his establishment on 550 Moore Street. There will be no actual tables and chairs. What will be there is, here's a diagram of it, is a ledge installed against planters as well for standing customers to use for their eating and drinking purposes at the site. We propose these three objects here in the center, these barrels that will also be used for standing purposes along with these umbrellas here. I turn the presentation over to the commissioners if they have any questions regarding the matter. And we have also the owner operators present that can answer any questions.
Currently 5D01 is currently vacant. I'm the commissioner for Union Market at this time. My quick question is, in terms of security, is there any additional security detail or security plan in place for having this outdoor setup for this establishment?
Mr. Leland, I think I'll turn that over to you. There is some documentation we prepared since our last committee meeting with the commissioners that they can elaborate on, and I'll try to pull that up on the screen as well.
Absolutely. And then Carlos, if you wouldn't mind, the document that's on the screen is out of date, looking at the 315 floor plan. Evening, commissioners, appreciate your time tonight. Yes, following our working meeting, I reached out to the Office of Nightlife as suggested, and I spoke to them regarding the space, the sidewalk cafe that we're proposing. They sent over a nice document, which after a very quick discussion, Salma and I both agreed that the document, which they typically have establishments follow, pertains mainly to bars and nightclubs. She said the proposal for the outdoor space that we have is more of a sidewalk cafe, primarily because of the dining times are going to be during the daytime between 11:30 and 9 p.m. And then also 50% of the food of the sales at the establishment in the outdoor space would be attributed to food. I provided the information that I received from the commissioner meeting, the workshop, suggesting we have an SOP. She agreed that we follow opening duties, age verification, excuse me, intoxication, intoxicated customers, over serving, and also active threats. At the time, she then put us on the list for active threat training. In addition, got us connected to the mayor's office, who I spoke to Mr. Black regarding our space. He also agreed that our space is more of a cafe zone pertaining more to restaurants than nightclubs or bars. And he was going to get me in contact with the MPD. We are expecting to have a scheduled on-site meeting with the MPD, hopefully this Friday, date to be determined. Attached and displayed on the screen is the SOP that we have created, going over the security measures, opening, closing duties, and everything that the Office of Nightlife suggested that we cover.
Okay, perfect. Can you pull up the original plan again for us?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you. And just so the public knows, this project is asking for our letter of support for this street cafe on Moore Street. Commissioners, questions, and I'll proceed with the public again. Commissioner Rhodes, any questions? 5D02.
I'm sorry, did you get a chance to show the security plan?
I believe they were just sharing a letter.
Oh, okay.
But we haven't got a copy of it, from my understanding.
Yes, I will have that sent over to you.
We do?
Mr. Iglesias, you'll send us over a copy?
I will send you over a copy of the document that was shared for the standard operating procedures for the establishment as it relates to the security.
Perfect.
Exactly, Mr. Iglesias. When are we going to get that?
You'll have it this evening.
Okay, thanks.
5D03, any questions? 5D04.
Yeah, just one question. I can't really tell from the plans, what is the clearance between the, I guess, front of the sidewalk cafe and the curb?
There is actually no clearance. We are going right along the curb and proposing to install these planters as a safety barrier between the curb and the sidewalk cafe. The street and the street elevation and the sidewalk elevation are the same. There is no distinction. So that's why we are proposing to put these 1-foot planters with these orange squares on them in front of the sidewalk cafe.
Sorry, maybe I'm just not picturing
I'll pull up a picture.
Yeah,
I have a
that would.
photograph that I can share. Bear with me one moment.
Because I just want to make sure that pedestrians can still get down the sidewalk, you know? I don't want
No,
people in
this-
wheelchairs or people pushing strollers to have to go out into the street to get around this cafe.
That is a valid point, but no, that is not what will exist there. One moment. All right, share screen. Here you are. So the cafe will be going in this area, Commissioner. And as you see, the street and the cafe area, sidewalk area is the same elevation.
Oh.
So there will be barriers here from the street, establishing a separation of the street and the sidewalk cafe area. And the limitations of the sidewalk cafe are at the edge of the sidewalk here.
Okay.
10-foot clearance will be maintained between the cafe and the sidewalk. Sidewalk will remain open this 10 feet. No interference.
Great. I see. Thanks.
No problem.
Perfect. I asked my question, 5D06.
Yes, I still don't have plans for this. I think there's some misunderstanding about the purpose of a committee of the whole meeting. You can discuss anything at a committee of the whole meeting, but it does not replace the public discussion nor the public input, which happens at the monthly meetings. And I've requested the plans, I've not received them. And even if this commission proceeds in a rogue manner and votes to support this plan, we are going to make sure that the people's voices are actually heard. We can't have the commissioners doing whatever they want to do. A committee of the whole meeting is, I think you have some.
Do you have a question, Commissioner?
My question is,
thank you.
Why haven't I received the plans? What about parking? If you're putting planters along what we see before us, how are people in vehicles going to exit safely? How are people going to traverse in wheelchairs when the other commissioners asked that? I mean, that's a valid question. We haven't heard anything from the residents that are actually impacted, who actually live in that community, because they don't have a commissioner. That seat is vacant. So until these questions are answered to my satisfaction, any action that this commission takes, I'm going to challenge it legally and thoroughly.
Did you get the questions, Mr. Iglesias?
Yes, I believe, Commissioner Henderson, your concern was how are.
I don't have the plans. I've not received any documentation regarding this project.
Understood.
And I requested it.
When did you request it, Commissioner Henderson?
I'm talking to Mr. Iglesias.
I'm asking you a question.
I need you to send this plan and every discussion.
Since you didn't attend our COW meeting, when did you request it?
Meetings, Commissioner.
Because you don't want to.
I know it hurts your ego.
Go ahead, Mr. Iglesias. The question was, how is this going to affect parking?
Correct. The cafe will not be affecting parking. And Commissioner Henderson, the plans were sent out.
You didn't send it to me.
Yeah, I did not know that I had to send it to you. I sent it to the single member district and the chair.
The chair does not represent 5.
Well, I understand that. What I'm saying is there's a vacancy for this single member district. So that's why I sent it to this single member district email. There's a vacancy.
Send it to khenderson029@AOL. Thank you.
Okay, happy to do so.
I think that was all the questions from Henderson. Let's 5D07.
Commissioner Henderson, I know that hurts you to call me.
5D07 is not available. 5D08. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Reed?
I don't. We had a good conversation previously. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Iglesias.
Perfect. And Commissioner Blacknell, any questions from you?
No, Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Going on with the public's questions. Desiree Williams, I think we already answered this question. Is this removing parking options for other union market consumers? What's the purpose of the standing outdoor space without seating?
The purpose of, no, we will not be removing parking from any of the on-street parking that is available. The purpose of the standing area is just, we are not providing any chairs, but it is just standing room only. And let me pull the plans back up. me share screen. Sorry. Where? Bear with me one moment, sorry. But the purpose of the standing room, to answer the question in the interest of time, is to provide an area for my constituents, patrons, to have an outdoor area to enjoy their food and beverage from the establishment. So this is 18015. Sorry. So yes, the standing room will be here only, and there, as I showed previously, and I'm pulling those back up, they will be standing in that area predominantly along a ledge and a rail for their food and their beverages.
Okay, and then I think these questions go to the owner that you have online today. For clarity, is this an outdoor bar slash cafe, and will there be speakers added for this seating?
Yes, this is Lee Rogan. There is no outdoor bar. Service will be handled inside. There is an opportunity for us to have QR codes outside on the standing bar to allow customers to order from their space and have food and drink brought out to them. At this time, we do not plan to have any music speakers added to the space.
Perfect. Okay, well, that was all the questions from the public. I don't see any other questions from the public in the Q&A. You all are seeking a letter of support in terms of this project.
I have a question.
What was your question, Commissioner Henderson?
Yes, I'd like to know, Mr. Iglesias, have you provided any type of public benefit or any type of offered any public benefit on behalf of your client? Or has your client offered any public benefit for this project?
Other than making a public space available for an eating establishment outside Sidewalk Cafe, no, ma'am. No, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners or the public before we take this to a vote? Okay. I move that that ANC 5D supports this street cafe project that will be located on Moore Street Northeast within Union Market. Can I get a second for that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor of this project?
Discussion.
Commissioner Rose, can you put a timer for the 3-minute discussion?
Sure.
Thank you. You can let me know when it's started.
Started.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, this vote is very inappropriate. I've stated my objections on the record. Mr. Iglesias is under the impression that he should have provided his his client's plans only to the chairperson. That's incorrect. The chairperson seems to be under the false impression that this matter should only be discussed in a committee of the whole meeting, which is false. So any vote that the commission takes at this time is inappropriate because the affected constituents have not had an opportunity to be heard. I haven't had an opportunity to see or hear this project as I've requested. Mr. Iglesias again didn't send the plans. I don't even understand that. It's not appropriate. So I will be sending in written opposition if the commission votes in support of this project for procedural purposes. And this could have been avoided, with simple transparency that is standard and understood, or should be understood.
Anything else, Commissioner Henderson? We have a minute and a half left of discussion.
While we have open discussion, I'd just like to clarify that when we had our committee of the whole meeting, we heard this presentation and we had the chance to ask some more in-depth and detailed questions, including about public comment and engagement with residents of the building that is the home of Crooked Run Fermentation. We didn't vote on this matter at that meeting. That was reserved for the public meeting, but it was a publicly accessible meeting for anyone who wanted to attend. And for folks who are concerned about transparency and an opportunity for discussion and collaboration, I'd just say come to the committee of the whole meeting. It's a great space for that.
And you can always see our committee of a whole meeting, which is technically what ANC 5D has been using as a good collegial working meeting for the commissioners, and those meetings are available on YouTube. So even though Commissioner Henderson has failed to attend any of them since we've been a commission, she has open opportunity to always attend and join those meetings to have this discussion that she's requesting.
I still have time that I'd like to use at this time to respond.
There's 40 seconds left.
No, it's more than 40 seconds.
Nope.
I think that there's a clear misunderstanding of the roles, and I would expect this from novice commissioners who don't understand that the work that ANC commissioners do is for the public benefit and to be done in the public. So you can talk about lack of collegiality, going or not going to committee of the whole.
Commissioner Salvador, I second the motion. Can we move on, please? Can we move on?
Yes, ma'am.
I second it. So
Yes,
can we
ma'am.
move on?
Yes, ma'am. We discussed this long enough, and we discussed this heavily at our COW meeting.
No, you're improper.
We'll go ahead and with second by Commissioner Black now. All in favor of supporting this project, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Opposed.
And any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. We'll move forward. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Blacknell, for that reminder for me to get on top of that. Mr. Iglesias, we'll let you we'll move forward with the other two presenters before you present your final project. So we'll proceed with the, I don't know who's having audio issues.
That's Commissioner Henderson's audio that's making that noise, which is distracting. So would you mind? Thank you. Thank you.
Gotcha. Okay. Proceeding with the agenda, I believe now we do have someone in attendance for the PUD project, which was also discussed at our last COW meeting, publicly available online. Ronnie Gibbons, you have 10 minutes and a few minutes for questions. If you can go ahead and commence, we would really appreciate it. And while we're waiting, Mr. Iglesias, if you can prepare to do your next presentation, if the commission allows the vote to present.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Gibbons, good to see you. You're presenting on a PUD project in Union Market.
Yes. Thank you for having us. Do you have my PDF?
The presentation is visible, yes.
Yes. So we're here to present the design of our project on this building, which is presently known as C2. It's a part of a greater PUD that we call Market Terminal. These three buildings over here. So let me show you on the map first. We're on 3rd Street, Morse Street, and I believe Union Street is what we're calling what was formerly called 3rd Street here. And so these three buildings here are already constructed. The 4th and 5th building are under construction. These three buildings here were part of a consolidated PUD. Everything is residential except this one building. Signal House is an office building. And so we're proposing a modification, 2nd stage PUD to the C2 building here, which will be 232 rental units. Now for the entire PUD, we're doing 11% affordable at 50% AMI, 50% at 50% AMI, 50% at 80% AMI. We're also providing car sharing and bike sharing locations, a public plaza connecting Florida Avenue to Market Terminal that incorporates depth space design principles with furniture, stairs, material variation between the street and the sidewalks, and terrace seating elements. LEED Gold for all buildings. We also provided funding to install a new traffic signal at 4th and Moore Street that has been installed. And we're creating bike lanes along the alley between Signal House and the Batley back here. And so we're also doing 5,000 square feet of retail on the ground floor. On this corner here, it's an 11-story building, a total of 211,000 square feet. And I'm going to turn it over to Michael with HKS, who's going to take us through the design. Were you able to make him a presenter? Are you with us, Michael?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is Mike Nicholas from HKS Architects. I'm happy to take you all through the design of the building in a little bit more detail. The design of the building is consistent kind of with the last time we met with you all. So I'll offer this review as kind of a reminder of the design of the building. You can see like the building sits on a corner site. It's at the corner of Union Street and Neal Place. As Ronnie mentioned, this is a view looking at that corner. You can see what is a very glassy looking building. The character of the building is mostly comprised through the introduction of a series of balconies placed along the facade that give the building its character and identity. This is part of a healthy building strategy to get very high percentage of the units having balconies and access to light and fresh air. So we've used that to sort of give the building its character. You can see at the ground floor, the retail that Ronnie mentioned facing north along Neal Place. Ronnie, let's move to the next slide. There are a few images like this that give you a sense of the building in both its scale and character. The buildings in this neighborhood that surround this site are all of this similar height and scale. So this is a building that, from a scale perspective, kind of fits in somewhat uniformly with its context. There isn't anything around it that varies much from this. So this is a very dense neighborhood in that sense. You can see the ground floor retail again, just a different view looking south. Ronnie, let's keep going. So this is looking at the building from the south looking north. So it's the opposite direction that we were looking at before. You can see the character of the building again, how it relates to some of the buildings in its context. You can see how there would be street trees lining the sidewalk in front of the building. The ground floor of the building would either be the retail that Ronnie mentioned or some of the common lobby area amenity spaces for the building itself, all facing the street. This is, again, another view just showing you the building from all different directions. So this is looking from 4th Street, looking west along Neal Place. You can see the sort of the back of our building, that edge of the back of our building. There's an alley to the rear of our building. You can see a little bit of where the retail would be, fronting the base of the building, the balconies that form the edges and the facades of the building, and again, a tree-lined street. One more look at the building. You can see a little bit more specifically the ground floor of the building, the way that the lobby and the amenity spaces would be expressed at the street, the sidewalk, street trees, and then the street character itself. We'll take you just now briefly through all of the floor plans of the building. This is the ground floor. You can see a lobby and amenity spaces that face Union Street. To the right along Neal Place is the retail. The rear of the building along an alley is how the building's parking is accessed, how the servicing for the building is handled and located in sort of the back of the building in an alley, the way these things should be kind of organized. Let's keep going, Ronnie. A similar plan, focusing a little bit more specifically along for the streetscape or the landscape around the edges of the building. You can see where street trees are located, sidewalks, pedestrian ways, vehicular ways around the building. The alley along the back, you can see a bike lane as a part of the design of the alley, as well as the service and backup house functions. As you move up through the building, you can see this is an illustration of what a typical floor would look like. The footprint of the building is sort of C-shaped with a small courtyard facing the alley. The plan of the building is comprised of a variety of different sizes and types of units: studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and then 3 bedrooms, all organized along a corridor. Moving to the top of the building very quickly, you can see interior and exterior amenity spaces, a small pool, seating area, some landscaped areas, green roof at the top of the building to get the building compliant with the stormwater requirements for the building. There's one more plan, Ronnie. So a similar plan, again, looking at the top of the building, especially focusing on the exterior spaces, you can see plaza and walkways, seating areas, covered amenity spaces, trellises, the pool, and then a green roof along the edges of the building.
And I think I failed to mention in my haste, we have we're proposing 150 below grade parking spaces.
So that's a very brief summary of the building. We're open to any questions you might have on it.
Thank you, sir. Just to confirm, 5D01 doesn't have a commissioner at this time acting as commissioner for Union Market. Just a quick question for the public. What is the ask from this project from the public from ANC 5D?
We're seeking a letter of support from the ANC for the stage 2 PUD application.
And no special modifications or anything like that for that in that letter of support?
Correct.
Okay. And then when it comes to affordability, I think you mentioned the percentage rate that we're looking at here at this project is 11%.
Yes.
As discussed at our COW meeting, you all mentioned that this project was originally going to be offices, and you all came back and requested it to become residential. We all fairly know that offices are kind of not in the, I guess, the need base for use of space, especially in major cities like Washington, DC. In residential, there is a need for more residential spaces. Is that 11%, as we asked this question at our COW meeting, is that 11% able to be increased?
We're not able to increase the affordability percentage above 11 but we, in understanding where the need is and having heard your thoughts as well as some of the other commissioners, we're able to go to 50%, 60% AMI rather than 80. So we can do deeper affordability. And we're now proposing that we do 50% at 50% AMI and 50% at 60% AMI rather than the 80.
You said 15% at 50% AMI?
No, still 11%, but 50% at 50% AMI and 50% at 60% AMI rather than the 80%.
Still at 11. Okay. 5D02, do you have any questions?
No, I would have liked it increase in that percentage of affordability, but I have no questions.
Okay, Commissioner Roblin.
I would also like to see an increase in the housing in the apartments affordability.
Okay, 5D04, that's Commissioner Cobb. He can't speak on this matter due to his work obligations. I asked my questions. Commissioner Henderson, 5D06.
A couple of issues. One, the facade, the balconies on the property, were they added when you converted it to a residential use? Did you initially have those balconies on the, on the facade when it was proposed as office space?
I don't think so. I'm fairly certain they were not there for the office. They were added for the residential.
Right.
Because the building looks a bit aggressive. It doesn't look as clean as I think it should. It doesn't particularly resonate effectively with the surrounding properties. Two, every developer says they can't do better on the affordability. I don't accept that. I think you can. 2, 3, I don't have a copy of this project so that I can look at all of the details more extensively beyond the scope of this brief presentation. And I am heartened to hear about the 150 below grade parking spaces. That's at least good. I think that's helpful. You said, how many units are we talking about? 150 units?
232 units.
232 units, so less than one per space. Or how is that parking going to work?
So we just increased it to 150. We were at 100 spaces. And we are, which I believe is the zoning minimum or close to it. And we are requesting to go up to 150 spaces, recognizing that's the market demand. And we've had preliminary conversations with DDOT, and they're reluctant, I would say reluctantly support. I mean, you'll see their comments when we go through the zoning commission, but they're at this point seem to be reluctantly supporting. They're generally in favor of less parking, but they recognize that with 232 units, 150 is something that they can probably support, in particular because the adjacent building does not have parking.
Well, that frankly doesn't answer my question, but thank you for that. I would actually like to see DDOT's discussions, prior to it going before the zoning commission. How are you going to make those spaces available to the residents? Is it going to be a lottery? How does that happen?
They'll be available to first come, first serve, essentially. It's not included with the rent. So we anticipate many renters will not have cars. And we think that 150 appropriately reflects market demand.
And to be clear, you're asking for a letter of support before the zoning commission. You're not asking for any variances?
A letter of support in accordance with our PUD application.
Before the zoning commission?
Yes.
Thank you.
5D07, I don't know if you were able to chime in to ask a question.
I mean, to be fair for this, let me just abstain for right now. And I would yield until I can catch up on what this presentation is pertaining to. So let me just go ahead and yield to 5D08 at this time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Mr. Gibbons, we talked a lot about parking. Could you talk a little bit more about how the facility will also support alternative transit? So alternate forms of transportation, public transportation, or residents who use bicycles or things like that, and how that might intersect with your calculations regarding market demand.
Sure. So we have TDM measures in place where we have the transit schedule screens in the building. We also have a fairly significant bike storage on the ground floor with easy access immediately off of the bike lanes here. as well as just the obvious walkability. One of the proffers for an adjacent PUD is a connection here. So we have our proffer is this sort of like public, available to the public pedestrian plaza through here with some seating, and an adjacent property's proffer was this winding path that connects down to the metro. So we're already seeing a great deal of pedestrian activity from the metro into Union Market through our plaza.
Great. Well, I think that's great, and I'm glad to see you encouraging residents to utilize public transportation and alternative means of getting around the city that won't clog our roadways with more cars. So it's great to see.
Thank you. And then we also have the car sharing and the bike sharing locations. And then we also have bikes that we provide with baskets.
Okay, Commissioner Blacknell, do you have any questions? Hearing none from Commissioner Blacknell, there's a few questions in the Q&A. Can you disclose the anticipated monthly rent given the low affordability offerings?
We cannot. It's 3 years probably until this building is finished construction. At the soonest, I would say. And so it'll be in accordance with market, but you can look at the buildings in the area and we intend to be similarly priced.
Okay, can't give the info now. Will there be retail parking in the parking spaces?
Yes. I'm not sure exactly how many spaces, but a certain number is required in accordance with the size of the retail. So we'll at least have that, and dependent upon demand and the practical usage, we may increase that.
Okay. Are there any other questions from commissioners?
Yes. I didn't hear anything from Mr. Nicholas regarding the balcony issue that I raised and the facade issue in general.
Or I'm happy to talk about that. Ronnie, maybe we could go back to one of the perspective images. When we were thinking about the character of the building, one of the things we think about is the context or the neighborhood that it sits in and the history of the neighborhood. So the neighborhood has got an industrial history, but it is currently surrounded by a lot of relatively new development. And we look at the character of the surrounding buildings, and for us and for the things we recommend to our client, we're always looking for a way to create a building that is unique to its environment. It both blends in scale and context and setbacks and streetscape and all things like that, but the architectural character of the building, we're trying to create something that's fresh and new. And we think that just philosophically, neighborhoods are more interesting when the architecture within a neighborhood varies and things don't all match and feel a little bit too, project-like or not urbane. So if you look at our building, for example, compared to the building in the foreground to the left or in the background to the right, they're very sort of smooth-skinned, glassy buildings. We thought it was important for our building to stand out in contrast to that almost, and complementary to the neighborhood, hopefully, but in contrast. So like the adding of the balconies and creating a pattern on the facade, kind of a checkerboard pattern on the facade with using the balconies as a sort of character giving device was what drove a lot of our thinking. Hopefully that answers your question.
I appreciate the response. I don't want to take up too much time. We can talk about this all night. Would you please provide your phone number? Mr. Gibbons, provide your phone number, and Mr. Galasius, please provide your phone numbers, and I will share additional questions with you.
Sure.
I guess we already answered the question that you couldn't provide the information, the figures on rent, but there's a resident of Union Market that's asking about the current dog park on the site. Is there one on that site?
No, there's not. It's presently open space, which I think many people have been using as a dog park, but it is not a dog park. It is just a grassy open space in the meantime.
Got it. So there's no dog park officially there. Okay. So I guess at this point, as the chair, I'll say one of two things. It doesn't look like we got too much out of any in terms of changes or updates from our last COW meeting when we spoke with you all directly about 2 weeks ago. We were looking for more affordability in these units. You did mention some potential figures, but it doesn't seem like the commission is in favor of it. When do you need our letter of support for this project? By when do you need that if we were to proceed with supporting it?
Preferably in the next 14 days. Forgive me, Todd is our project manager. He's out sick today, but I believe we do not yet have a set down date. But we were hoping for May. And so in the next 2 weeks would be ideal.
So there's no deadline specifically at this time when you would need this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so we can table this to next month's meeting to see if there's any changes with this plan, or we could proceed with voting in terms of the support, whether it's looking like a no, but we can proceed. So would you be open to tabling this project and presenting again at our next month's meeting?
If it's solely on the basis of affordability, we would be coming back with the same plan. The 11% affordability was established in the initial
hold on 1 second.
Stage 1 PUD approval.
Hold on, give me a second.
Yes, the affordability was established in the first stage of this project.
Yes, at 11%. And so we are proposing even to go deeper on half of the affordability from 80 down to 60%. So that's where we're going to be.
I'm gonna ask the commission if we can table this discussion and get actual figures in front of us. The photos are great, but we need a little bit more detail in terms of what we're looking at here. We made it clear at our last meeting that Union Market is fairly taking up a large amount of resources from South Ward 5. Specifically when it comes to public safety, we get a lot of new residents moving into these beautiful apartments, and they're not used to some of the issues that we're entrenched in here, and they take up some resources, especially MPD. So we just want to ensure that this is going to be a viable resource for our community and neighborhood. And I think we need to look a little bit deeper on actual figures because there's still some questions around that.
That's understandable. Could I give some more context on the project?
Go ahead. If I could, since the gentleman has made his presentation and he's also stated pretty explicitly that if it's about figures, then he's made his presentation for tonight. What I would like to say to you and put you on notice is, instead of stating that, I would say that if we're going to table this, then you should go on a campaign to talk to all of the commissioners to try to gain our support, and not necessarily just say that you've made your presentation and the presentation is what it is. Because essentially that's what you said, except for, if we want to talk about more affordability, and I think that, for me personally, I don't like that type of conversation. But I think that if we are to table this, then what my recommendation for you would be is to talk to the commission and individual commissioners going forward and see what you all may be able to do to gain our support, and not necessarily give us the impression that you've made the presentation. And if it is just to talk about affordable housing, then that's all it is, because that's what I heard in your summarization of all of this just a moment ago. So I would just say that I was not here for most of your presentation, but I did not like that language that you just shared with us in the end there. So what I'm going to say is that either way that the commission decides to go, I'm not going to support it because of what I heard. but the recommendation is for you to try to work with all of us within the next 30 days so that you can gain some support before the next.
Is there any other comments from other commissioners in terms of tabling this? Or
I'd like to
proceeding?
respond to that comment.
Go ahead, sir.
First off, I appreciate the transparency sincerely. And I don't want you to think like we're like not willing to engage or discuss things. We certainly are. And we've met prior with the commissioners to discuss the project and receive the feedback, and we've increased our affordability accordingly. I do want to point out, for what it's worth, that two things. One is that the affordability, the density, the height, all the other proffers, that was approved in the stage 1 PUD. And so the purpose of the stage 2 PUD is really just the design and the design details. That's my understanding. And so that's what we're presenting on today. And this was approved back in 2017. So it's been 6 years. And in those 6 years, we've been working very hard to provide this housing, provide these proffers, these community benefits, and they're all in place. This is the last piece. And the nature of this particular site is that it was extremely dilapidated and in disarray with very insignificant public utilities and whatnot. So we've invested over $12 million just in the streets, the curbs, the infrastructure with regard to like electricity and the water pipes, just to be able to provide the housing. And we're continuing to invest and keep these streets operational, clean, and functional for the public. In addition to that, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but I just want to make it clear that, you know, we're not being evasive here and saying this is it, this is what you get. I just want to make it clear that we have made significant investments for the public. Oh, sorry, I remembered my point. That when we build this building, our property taxes, which we've already been paying on this site for the last 6 years, increase very significantly, well into the 7 figures annual, that we'll cut that check every year with the hopes that that money is being put to good use for things like police officers and whatever else the community needs. So when we build it, if we're able to, that's what will occur. If we're going to have delays and problems getting approvals to be able to provide the housing, including the 11% affordable, those property taxes don't get paid in accordance with the finished building.
I heard you, and I'm hearing what you're saying. But what I want to say, and I want to make sure that I'm clear on, is that there's too many times that people come to this commission and they want to speak on just meeting the minimum requirement. And when you're building a building that is of this statute and this large, I don't want people coming and presenting to us that's only willing to do the minimum. When you give me the number of 11%, that's just not enough for me. And so until we have people who are willing to come here and present numbers that shows that you are really interested in this community and you're willing to invest in larger numbers for people who really, really need to be in these units, the people who are in the fabric of this city, then, I mean, I'm just not able to support it. So I do hear what you're saying, and I do appreciate it. And I understand that you all have had space for 6 years. You've been paying the taxes for 6 years. That's fine. But what I'm saying to you is that most of us, if not all of us, are really interested in the people who've been here that have supported and been the backbone of this city, them still being able to live and afford to be in the city. And so when a building of this magnitude is there, I want to see more than 11% or the minimum requirement there. I need people to come here that's willing to say, you know what, the minimum requirement is for us to give 10% or 11%, but we're going to go beyond that because we know that this community really, really needs that. And these people have been the ones that have been there. So that's what I'm saying to you. Again, I'm going to say it that I think that in the next 30 days, you should try to reach out to all of the commissioners individually and find out what each one of us is interested in. The time here tonight is not enough for that. But for me, at least. It's a no until I can at least engage with you to kind of tell you some of the things that I would be more inclined to vote for. And tonight, I'm sorry, but it falls a little bit short of that, but I do appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
I should have said this.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. Due to time, we're gonna move forward. We're way past. We've been on this for how long now, Commissioner Rhodes?
Right. No, what I was saying was we have the ASL interpreters till
10 o'clock. And we still have a couple other items we need to discuss. So we're gonna proceed. I'm gonna make a motion. I'm gonna move that we table this discussion to next month to allow more time to ask questions on this project. I understand there's a bit of confusion in terms of what we're able to request or not request. So I make a motion. I move that we table this project to next month's meeting. Can I get a second on that motion? Second by Commissioner McCollum. All in favor of tabling this discussion to next month's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed by
Commissioner May.
Oh, thank you. Any abstentions? It's you, Cobb.
Oh, abstain, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we're tabling this discussion to next month. We'll be in touch with the project leads on this project. Moving forward, we have BZA case 2885, 1400 Montello Avenue. Mr. Marty, thank you so much for waiting so long to present. If you can go ahead and proceed, we would truly appreciate it.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And also with me is an architect, project architect, Warren Wick, and the property owner, Christian Creech. If you see them out there, if you
will do.
Bring them up as panelists. Thank you. And so if I can share my screen, I'll go ahead and do that.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Picture here. Okay, so this is, I just wanted to show you the property first. This is 1400 Montello. Kristen Creech is the owner and resident of this house. And this involves an addition that's going to go primarily, well, there's the third story addition, and that part of it's matter of right. But then there's an addition between the two buildings that connects these buildings. And that's the source of most of the relief that we're requesting. So I'll go back to the beginning here. So the property's in the RF1 zone. It's currently improved with a 2-story plus a cellar, single family road dwelling. So the project includes, there's really 4 aspects to this. One, there's a 3rd-story addition to the principal building on the existing footprint. And that part of the project's matter of right. Then there's going to be a 1-story cellar level connection between the existing principal building and the accessory building. And that work there triggers 4 special exception requests. And then we'll be enlarging the accessory building, and that requires, actually we'll be replacing it, and that's why it requires 1 special exception approval. And then also proposing to convert to 3 residential dwelling units from 1, and that also requires special exception. So to go through the areas of relief, we need lot occupancy relief for the cellar level. So the very first level, once we connect the 2 buildings, it'll be 70% lot occupancy. The rest of the floors will be about 45% lot occupancy. The maximum is 60%. So we need lot occupancy relief. Rear yard relief will need, once the buildings are connected, they'll be considered 1 building, and then the rear yard setback will only be 2 feet instead of the required 20 feet. So we're asking for special exception relief for that. For the same reason, we'll be not compliant with the 10-foot rule, because once the buildings are connected, we'll be more than 10 feet past the rear wall of the neighboring building. A court is created, and you'll see that on the plans when Warren takes you through the plans, as part of the addition, and that triggers the need for court width relief, even though the court's not required to be provided. And the conversion to 3 units requires special exception approval. in accordance with the 900-foot rule. The property's 2,970 square feet, so it's big enough to be converted. And then there's a provision, alley centerline setback, that says vehicular entrances to a building, to any building, must be 12 feet from the center line of an adjacent alley. And the garage is going to be 10 feet from the center line of the alley. It's a 16-foot wide alley, so there's 8 feet, and then there'll be 2 feet in. And the reason why we're doing the garage there is that's where the current footprint is. And the owner can explain why he needs that extra space as well. But we're still going to have, because it's a 16-foot wide alley, you won't have any problem getting in and out of the garage, and it'll be wider than it is now as well. So I'll turn it over to Warren to take you through the plans. Warren?
Okay, I hope that everybody can hear me. You're seeing the house as it exists today. Obviously, you have the garage in the back, a very short and small backyard. You can see this in the side view. And as Marty mentioned, we're going to add a third floor. And then we're also planning to rebuild the garage that will actually connect the bottom, the basement unit to the garage and make a bigger garage with a rooftop on a rooftop deck on top of the garage. This is again, this is an alley view looking at the existing garage. And here again, looking at it from another angle. Okay, on the left, you can see a site plan that shows the existing conditions on the left. You can see the size of the footprint of the house along with the garage. And on the right-hand side, you can see what we're proposing in a new proposed footprint, which shows the larger garage. Again, this is just another shot of the existing footprints. And again, this is the proposed. On the left here, we're showing the setback from the center line of the alley that Marty was just speaking about. This is an existing cellar floor plan and first floor plan and the top floor. Here is the proposed cellar floor plan. Here you can see the rebuilt garage is larger. Then we're proposing a basement 2-bedroom unit in the cellar. And this unit would have access to the top of the garage where we're proposing a deck. You want to go, the next one here is the main floor of the house. On the left-hand side, you can see the deck, the proposed deck on top of the garage. This unit is going to be a 2-story unit with 3 bedrooms. And the next level up shows the bedrooms. We have a bedroom in the rear, in the middle of the building, and in the front. The top floor plan is a 1-bedroom unit. And then there's a stair to a rooftop deck on top of the 3rd floor. This is the existing side elevation. This is the front elevation. And then this is the proposed elevation you can see with the 3rd floor, as well as the railings for the decks. And then this is the other front view of the house. And then the 3-dimensional view. Marty, did you want me to speak to this, or? You're muted.
I can do it, but unmute myself first this time, sorry. I'll speak to the BZA conditions. There's for 4 areas of the relief, the rear yard lot occupancy, 10-foot rule, and the court. The conditions are the same. It's the light and air, privacy, and character scale and pattern test. So light and air available to neighboring properties should not be unduly affected. It's just on the cellar level of the addition, and it's just connecting the existing building and rebuilding that accessory building. It's just going to be 1 story in the back. And so for that whole level, it'll be at the cellar level and just 1 story. And for the same reason, the privacy of use and enjoyment won't be unduly compromised. And it won't substantially visually intrude upon character, scale, and pattern of houses along the street or alley frontage. And Christian will speak in a second about his interactions with the neighbor. Regarding for the conversion approval, these requirements were scaled down significantly a couple years ago, and these are the conditions: that the building is in existence and that we meet the 900-foot rule. We have at least 900 foot of land area for every proposed unit. And special exception conditions for alley centerline approval are: we have a reasonable difficulty in providing the full-size driveway width or alley centerline setback, and that will show that there's safe access for vehicles and safe use of the alley by pedestrian vehicles. And because the alley is a little bit wider than some at 16 feet, and we still also have 2 feet off of the alley and a wide accessory building, we think there'll be plenty of room to get the car in and out of the garage. Christian, would you like to talk, please, about your interactions with your neighbor or anything else you want to talk about?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Christian Creech. I am the homeowner. I purchased the home back in 2011, and I've lived here ever since it was livable, which was in 2014. I finally got the final approval from DCRA to move in. I live on the end unit, as you can see, so I only have one immediate neighbor. Those are the Huntleys. Jamina Huntley is the owner of that property, and she lives with her sister Yvonne Huntley, who helps care for her as Jamina is elderly. I have kept them aware of everything that I plan to do with the property. I have shared full drawings that I have that you guys have seen here. I've shared with them. I've also walked through the drawings with them and have invited them to each of the ANC meetings that we've had to discuss any issues or bring up any concerns that they might have. The purpose of the remodel is to turn it into a generational home. I intend to live here, continue to live here after the renovations, and have my parents move in so I can helps me look after them. And the 3rd unit would be to rent out to help subsidize the expansion. And again, thank you for your time tonight. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. So that's all we have. We're ready for questions. Thank you.
Can we go back to that slide where you're asking for the relief or yes. Commissioners, are there any questions in terms of this project? I see Commissioner Henderson's hand raised. Commissioner Henderson, what are your questions?
Yes. Thank you for your presentation. This is a pretty massive project. I understand that, everyone wants to do, expand their house, and, your house is your castle, but this is way too much castle. And it really, based on the presentation I've seen, it does not fit the guidelines. And the relief that you requested, if granted, it's going to substantially change the streetscape, for the surrounding area. And that is not, that shouldn't be the goal, is to just get what we want without regard for our neighbors. The character defining elements of that community are going to be forever lost, which is, single family row houses, federal style single family row houses. Your house already looks different based on probably some unpermitted work at some point. And now you're proposing additional work that is going to make the property outsized and completely inappropriate for that community. And I appreciate you wanting to get, Mr. Creech, I'm directing my comments to you. I appreciate you wanting to get your whole family there and an additional rental, but it's too much. It's too aggressive and it doesn't work for the community. And I would like to see any letters of support that you have. And have you had an opportunity to talk to anyone other than Ms. Huntley and her elderly relative? Because I can't imagine that people would say that this doesn't affect our light. It doesn't affect the way you read the block, the way you interact with the street. It's too massive.
Thank you for that feedback. I have spoken with, in addition to the Huntleys, Mrs. Campos, who lives on the other side of the Huntleys, obviously not in as much detail, and I have not shown her the drawings, but let her know of the upcoming changes that I'm proposing and the Board of Zoning adjustment. Nobody lives on the other side from me, and the folks who live behind me in the I guess the 4-unit apartment building they are also aware of the changes that I meet there, although most of them are renters.
And just one final thing, I would say to my colleagues that, I appreciate the presentation to the commission, but we're not here to simply rubber stamp people's dream lists for outsized projects. They have to make sense for everyone. And I can't explain this project in a way that makes sense to any of the neighbors. And if we allow this project to move forward as is, it's going to create a really troubling, slippery slope to circumvent, the height of building acts in a way that changes and forever altering the streetscape in Trinidad. That's not acceptable.
Are there any additional questions from the rest of the commission? I don't see any from the public. Commissioner May?
This can be for any of the presenters, but would you, when you think about the other buildings on the street, across the intersection, catty corner, are they all the exact same size and style, or would you characterize the neighborhood as a diverse array of buildings currently?
Well, I'll start, and then Christian can probably add more since he's lived there for a long time. But we're not asking for relief for height. The addition to this part of the structure, the principal structure, is matter of right. This is within the maximum permitted height. So we're not asking for any relief for the height. All of the relief is triggered by what's here in the back, by the accessory building, and principally just by the connection between this building, the principal building here, and the accessory building. So yeah, it's a lot of areas of relief, and accessory buildings, most times that I'm dealing with accessory buildings, it ends up being a lot of areas of relief for various reasons. But the addition itself that we're asking for relief for is just for this space between these two buildings.
Yeah, and hi, this is Christian again. As far as the look of the homes in the area, I can take pictures for you, but the home directly across if you see the street right there, the home directly across the street has the addition on top. The one next to it has the addition on top. So right now, my house is kind of under the height of some of the surrounding buildings, not the immediate neighbor. But as far as building an addition on top, that's something that's pretty commonplace in the neighborhood, and most of the renovations that go on do end up adding an addition on top. Just to speak to the expansion of the garage a little bit, number one for increasing the garage is that, I don't have it right now, but I used to have a Toyota Tacoma. The garage wasn't long enough to actually accommodate the truck. And so the part of the expansion is to allow me to get a truck in there, but also I'm a woodworker. I have a full woodworking shop, a miter saw, a table saw. I do bicycle mechanic repair. So that space will help me accommodate my tools and those types of hobbies that I do. But expanding the garage in that space right there, once you make the garage big enough to accommodate a Toyota Tacoma, there's really not that much gap there. And allowing me to cover that gap will, keep my tools in the garage and allow me to, use them and continue my hobbies.
Great, thank you, Mr. Creech. I appreciate your answer. I'll offer my perspective, which is that you're a neighborhood resident who wants to stay in your home and expand it moderately to allow your family members to move in with you. And I think it's worth noting that if we weren't supportive of this and if you were forced to relocate, someone else might purchase the home and, as a matter of right, add an addition and turn it into a multi-unit rental property that wouldn't have the care and attention of a 10-year neighborhood resident. So I'll support your proposal, and I appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner May.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Don't see any questions from the public. Okay, can you confirm when your hearing is for this project?
It's May 10.
May 10th. Okay. Okay, so I'll proceed. Being that this project is seeking support with some relief, I make a motion. I move that we proceed with supporting BZA case 2885 1400 Montello Avenue Northeast. Can I get a second in support?
Second.
Second by Commissioner May. All those in favor say aye.
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 I think I heard 3.
Aye.
4 ayes. All those opposed?
Aye.
All those
Opposed.
opposed? I oppose. Any abstentions?
Apologies, City Guzman. Could we maybe do a roll call? I don't think I got the count.
Okay. Those in favor? 5D02 in favor.
Aye.
Okay, 5D03,
Aye.
5D04,
Abstain.
and 5D05, I oppose. 5D06,
Oppose.
5D07,
Yes.
5D08. Commissioner,
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
5D09.
Yes.
Okay, did you get the count? The motion carries to support the
Thank you.
project. Thank you for that, Commissioner May. Okay, we'll proceed and we'll be in touch with our letter of support. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Iglesias, you had your streetscape project. We are fairly past time, so if you can be brief. If not, we'll table this discussion to next month. Because we did have this discussion prior at our COW meeting. So hopefully you all took some of our suggestions.
I think given the time, we should table this matter to the next meeting.
How long is the presentation, Mr. Iglesias? Do you have that ready?
We should, yes, I have it ready. I can share right now. We shouldn't be more than 5 minutes.
5 minutes? We'll give you those 5 minutes instead
It's
of having you wait for a
10:23
week.
p.m.
Chairman?
Yes.
As a parliamentarian, just because one of the commissioners has raised concern about the time, we will need to take a vote.
Yes.
From the commission to make sure that everyone is okay with us continuing due to time.
Yes, because we're past time and the interpreters are also past time. I move that we proceed with allowing this project at 1801 17th Street on their streetscape project to present tonight. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Roblin. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was 4 ayes. Those opposed?
Opposed.
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 3. And any abstentions? Was that all of us that voted? We're missing one, no? Commissioner
No,
Black, now how did you? Oh, aye. Okay, so
yes.
okay, so the ayes have it. We'll proceed. Mr. Iglesias, could you go ahead and give us your 5-minute presentation?
Yes. Hello, Commissioners. Good evening. This presentation is for a streetscape improvement application in the public right-of-way as it relates to the proposed development of a 325-unit apartment house newly constructed on 801 17th Street. The property fronts I Street, 17th Street, and H Street. My name is Carlos Iglesias with JMI Developers. I am the permit consultant for the project. I'll allow now Matthew Clark, the landscape architect, to proceed forward with the presentation of the plans on the screen for the streetscape public space improvement on the project.
Thank you, Carlos. Again, name is Matt Clark. I'm with Land Design Incorporated. We're the landscape architects on the project. Carlos, will you be driving the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. I'll go through this quickly. The first slide just shows a comparison of the existing conditions and the proposed building. We added this as there was some commentary related specifically to the alley along the back. So we'll get to that in a second. Carlos, advance to the next slide, please. I'm going super fast here. As a practical matter, we're talking about the streetscape and the alleys surrounding the property on I, H, and 17th Street. We have a 6-foot landscape lawn that has trees in it in some instances, lighting, and inboard of that is an 8-foot sidewalk that wraps the site, I, 17th, and H Street. And from that point inward to the face of the building is a variable width landscape area composed of both turf and plantings. And Carlos, please advance. One of the comments that came up at the last meeting was the discussion of whether we had any on-street drop-off spaces at both of the entrances. And by the way, the two main entrances are located at 17th and I Street and 17th and H Street. What you're looking at here quickly is our first look at possible locations for these drop-offs. Now, I will say that this is all pending DDOT approval, but that's the point of this graphic. One other element on this slide is the on-street bike parking, of which we have approximately 30 spaces, 15 standard U-shaped loops, and those are generally located at the two main entrances as well. That was some commentary from the last one. Next slide, please. This slide was added as a comparison between the existing building, which is shown on the image to the right in kind of an outlined, yeah, Carlos, if you could pan over to the right a little bit, the other right, is the kind of the orange outlined building there. Right now, the alley itself from property line of the townhouses to our property line is 16 feet. What we are proposing here is increasing the paving on our side of the property line by 4 feet so that we have approximately 20 feet of unobstructed alley surface. Now, some of this could be used for obviously vehicle trips, but also for pedestrian use. But I think the key point is that it's all flush so that it is drivable. And then you can see superimposed under this image, the edge of the new building, which shifts us back by about 7 feet plus or minus from the existing building's location. And so this gives us from the townhouse property line to the face of building about 30 feet plus or minus coming across there. Next slide, please. Sorry, I'm going super fast here. This is just a quick image to depict in a little more detail the landscape, and this focuses on the alley. It's a mix of evergreen plantings, also grasses, and some smaller plantings. But the idea is that the predominance of it, or at least 60% or so, is evergreen planting, so that there is a landscape presence along the alley all year long. Next slide, please. And this is just one last slide. It looks at the street trees as proposed compared to where the existing street trees are. You can see on I Street, we have street trees inboard, but on 17th and H Street, they are located approximately where they are on site right now. And this is for the simple fact that there is a fairly major gas line running along H Street and up 17th Street. So we're discussing how to deal with that essentially. And the last slide is actually, it goes back to a little bit of the bike parking. We talked about that last time. And this depicts 125 long-term internal bike parking spaces within the building itself. I apologize, that was as fast as I could go.
We appreciate your speed on this. It looks like you took a lot of the feedback that we gave at our last meeting with you all and ran with it. My concern is that we still don't have anything in terms of that designated space or bump out for people getting picked up or dropping off at this building, knowing that 17th Street is a high traffic street with numerous cars that speed through it like a racetrack. I as a resident of here of 5D, I'm concerned that this will be a traffic issue, and we'll most likely see a lot of traffic incidents, traffic accidents on this street because of the lack of ability to kind of, move the vehicle out of the way of oncoming traffic. You said you're working with DDOT to get something approved,
Yeah,
but it doesn't
yeah.
sound like something's in writing though.
No, we don't at this point. We're having our civil engineer kind of take the lead on that
Okay.
and run that to ground. It is ultimately DDOT's decision, so that's kind of where we are right now. Not a great answer, but it's the one we've got.
Okay. Commissioner McCollum, this is in your SMD if you want to follow up on a question, and then Commissioner Henderson and any other commissioners, they can raise their hand and I'll let y'all ask a question.
Thank you so much, Chairman. So let me first say that I don't think that we have enough time to really do this justice for some of the things that I want to say. I will commend you all for coming back and taking some of our ideas into consideration. I do appreciate you doing that. For me, it still falls a little bit short of some of the things that I would have thought should be included. For example, I do see that you all have included the drop-off space pending DDOT approval that has the blue highlights for the car. But to me, that just looks like off-street parking or on-street parking. And, even though that may be one designated space for people to drop off, we all know good and well that people will still pull up and park there. And so that wouldn't really be a drop-off location. It'll just be a parking space that's designated for something that potentially people would still pull up and park there. Kind of like what, a handicap parking space.
Right.
That's what I see that as being. I was more looking for something where almost like some type of awning where you kind of drove under, and that's where you stopped and people could come in and out and get it. For example, one of the sidewalk areas, I'm not sure what the approval would take for that. But for instance, if we went over to where the drop off is over on the H Street side, and where you have all the trees and the sidewalk and all of that, if there was actually like an awning where you drove under and you could actually stop under and people could come out and pick up whatever they're getting, almost like a valet parking type situation, is what I was more interested in seeing, and not necessarily just one designated parking space. So not necessarily happy with this. If we can zoom back out for a moment, I will say that I really do like that you all extended the alley and made it much more wider. That's very good and appreciated. The entry and the parking as it relates to underneath. Could someone say real quickly how many parking spaces are dedicated underneath ground for this building?
I'll defer to Moya Design, the architect for the project. We have Jonathan Stiles and Vinay on from Moya Design that could answer those questions.
Yeah. So how many designated parking spaces do we have for this building?
We have 120.
And so 120, is that above and beyond what the regulation requires, or is that meeting the regulation?
Renee, you're on.
I'm sorry.
He's asking if a colleague is on to answer the question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the required parking spaces based on zoning was roughly, I believe, about 107 or 108. So we're providing 120 parking spaces.
And then for you all to go, for you to go from 108 to 120, those are additional 12 spaces. How did you all reach 12 spaces versus a larger number from, beyond that? Like, how did you all just land at 12 additional spaces?
I think, I don't think we have a floor plan of the garage. I think it's pretty much maximizing every square inch of the garage. So that's pretty much, the number that we could get in there. The other thing that we're also doing there is we're also providing about 125 bike parking spaces. So when you combine that and when you combine the parking, that pretty much maximizes, the footprint of the garage that's available.
I'm not as interested in bike parking as I
Sure.
am car parking, because I have constituents that own row homes.
Sure.
And so these individuals actually have homes that they park on the street. And so when individuals cannot park in the garage at this building, they're going to park in residential parking that's on the street. So I'm not really as concerned about bike
Sure.
parking. If anything, I would ask that you all would kind of downgrade some of the spaces that you have for bikes and try to incorporate more parking for cars and automobiles underneath there. So I'm not, I did hear that, but I'm not really as concerned about that.
Sure, Carlos, do you have, sorry, I was just
go
going to
ahead.
ask Carlos, I was just going to ask Carlos to show us the garage layout, just to kind of give you an idea.
There you go. Here we are.
Yeah, I think as you can see, I mean, we're pretty much,
This is the ramp coming down.
Yeah, you pretty much maximize what you can do with the garage in terms of parking. The bike parking requirements are also regulated, and we do have to meet that count.
Yeah, and the areas that we're locating the bicycle parking spaces is just they're not really reasonable car spaces. We're maximizing
the leftover spaces. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then the on-street, so when you give us the total of the parking, and then you also have the on-street image that had the blue and then the red behind, are you also counting that red space as part of the parking that you all have designated for this building as well?
No, the parking spaces, the count is just based on what we're providing in the garage. We're not including anything outside.
Okay, and so what's outside, all of the red, is the red dedicated to this building, or is that just, you all are just assuming that that's just on-street parking for residents or anyone that able to park there legally?
Correct, that's just on-street parking.
Okay, and so you work with,
not to cut you off, but just so to note, the prior arrangement of this lot did not have all these parking spaces on I Street, because there are, I think, 3 or 4 curb cut entrances along I Street. So we are actually closing these curb cut entrances and creating additional on-street parking for the neighborhood as a direct result of the development.
No, I do understand that, but you're also creating 325 additional units that were not there for the development. So when you tell me that there were not 325 additional residents that lived in this area. So, I hear that, but providing, roughly 20 something more spaces, but 325 individuals, it just doesn't meet that's not a reasonable expectation of parking. So I do hear you.
Commissioner, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we have 3 other commissioners with questions, and because of time, I want to make sure.
Well, then for me, I'm going to go ahead on and just yield, because I do not want to be disrespectful to my colleagues. It is really, really late. And so I really wish that we would have just waited to try to get into this. But I do want to give Commissioner Henderson and May and Reed and Cobb, we have May and Cobb an opportunity to speak. So I'm going to yield here, but because it is in my district, I would really, I do have more questions and concerns. I'm going to ask that my colleagues would consider tabling this to the next meeting. But I also yield so that they respectfully, so they'll have the opportunity to raise some questions as well. So I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson, you had your hand raised first.
Yes, this matter must be discussed publicly with my constituents. We are right across the street. We've already negatively been impacted by the gas leak on the site. we need to take a look at this. 325 apartments is very, very massive, given that we had an award-winning birthing center there that served this community, Ward 5 in our city well. And now we're just getting just massive congestion that's going to eat up parking. The parking spaces that have been offered are insignificant compared to the need. Everyone is scrambling for parking enforcement now. So I want the opportunity to present this project to my community. And I want the developers to commit now to come out to the community so that we can ask questions, we can hear. The committee of the whole was not the appropriate venue to discuss this project, and now to rush it forward at 10:39 p.m. That's just not acceptable.
Commissioner May, I think you had your question, your hand raised next.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. Well, first of all, to the presenters, I appreciate you taking our feedback from last time. There have been some substantive changes, which is great to see, and I think that there's some net gain there. I'm going to focus on the streetscape, and because I think that's the focus of your presentation and your ask to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad to see the additional parking for bikes. Generally, I would prefer not to see you give up sidewalk and green space to create a valet style driveway for vehicles. You know, my perspective is that one of the reasons why we struggle with vehicular congestion is because we encourage people to drive. So I'm glad to see the bike racks. I'm glad you have the bike parking. I'm glad you're encouraging people to utilize other means of transit. And we talked last time about access from this site to the streetcar and to the bus routes on H Street. I think that's all a net gain. And I would encourage you to continue to encourage residents to engage with the city in that way. I also just, this is a by right property, so we don't have ultimately a role to play in the unit count or the floor plans. But what I will say is that the city needs density, and so I mean, at the end of the day, I think that more units, more places for people to live is an important thing for Washington D.C. And I think that in that regard, we'll welcome new residents to the 5D.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cobb.
Thanks. I'm going to thread the needle here. I'm not going to comment on the units or unit makeup or whatever. I'm just commenting on the streetscape part. I'm with Reed here. I think it's really good. I think one important thing to keep in mind is that not everyone who moves into this building is going to have a car. I think our part of DC and Carver Langston averages something like a third of households don't have a car. So that's chop a third off the 325 right there. That's 200 something, which is still fewer parking spaces than is available. But there are transit options. They're making bike parking abundant, which will help encourage bike use. And, if people move there knowing that they might not have a parking spot, they just won't bring their car. Maybe they'll sell their car. Maybe they just won't get one in the first place. It's important to remember that these future conditions, they're not passive. They don't just have things happen to them. These conditions people keep those in mind and they act accordingly. They respond accordingly. If they don't want to look for parking, maybe they'll go move to an apartment building somewhere else. And then just on the valet driveway portion, I think it's a good idea in theory, but I just question it in practice because I know that there is an apartment building on 17th Street Northwest with a valet sort of like U-shaped driveway for that, and people just end up parking on it and it becomes useless. I feel like that's kind of what's going to happen here. And because of that, by that same reasoning, I also have a concern with this, PUDO pickup drop-off space, which I think is great, but I just don't know how often it's actually going to be free. And it's probably just going to end up being, Uber drivers double parking on I Street anyway. So those are just kind of my scattered thoughts.
Thank you. Commissioner Coleman, you had a final comment?
I do. Thank you so much. So let me agree with Commissioner Henderson that we really should not rush this through. Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Let me respectfully disagree with my colleagues May and Cobb with regards to the landscape and the streetscape of all of this. I live here. And while we can predict, or while we can try to predict who's going to move into this building, I'm not concerned about who's moving in. I'm concerned about who's here now. And my constituents are already suffering from parking because we're already seeing the damage that it's doing with these construction workers who are there just working on the property that's already parking on I Street and H Street, and there's no parking. So when you bring a building of this size and you already do not have parking to accommodate this size and this magnitude of building, then it's really, really reasonable to assume that people are going to start parking in the residential parking spaces. And so then we run into the people who, I am here for the people who have been here and have been the fabric. The people who are moving here next year and in 2 years or whenever they may move here, I'm not as concerned about them right now. I'm concerned with the people who have elected me and said, we need you to be our voice. And so I'm going to go on record to say that I do not support this in this form, in this shape, in this fashion. And I'm going to ask my colleagues to support me with that. I do not agree that we need to have one designated space, as Commissioner Cobb just stated. You know, that one space, it's easily going to be filled with other people just parking there. Yep. And I did give the example of valet style, but that was just something to give just so we can be creative in what we may be able to offer. I was not saying that I want it to be valet style all the way around, but I do want it to be some type of designation that says that this building is 325 space units. I mean, I think we're losing that. I don't know if all my other colleagues have a 325 unit building that's being built in your community, but I have 325 units there. Immediately beside that building, I have 160 something units being built there. And then immediately behind this unit, I have 60 something units being built there. So we're talking about almost 500 units. And you all are saying that you're comfortable with the way that this parking is looking. I'm sorry, but I can't agree with that. And so if you're not here and you don't live here and you don't feel it already with the construction that's going on, you wouldn't understand my compassion for this. Now, I still respectfully, are willing to work with my colleagues, but I just ask that you all would really consider that, anything else, any other type of parking situation that's here is going to interfere with the people who own houses that back up to the alley and who live down H Street and who live down I Street. And so because of that, I can't support the parking like this. It is going to be a parking nightmare with this unit and with this building.
Thank you, Commissioner, for your final comments. Commissioner Roblin, real quick.
I would agree with Commissioner McCollum and Henderson. And I just would like us to, I am so unfamiliar. What are the alternatives? Could you make a smaller building with a lot less units? Are there any workable alternatives that would be satisfying to you, Commissioner McCollum and Henderson? That's what I'm wondering. Is there anything that we could do for this project that is good for the community?
Thank you. So just to make it clear, they are presenting on the streetscape, not on the units or actual dwellings. That's a matter of right that they have. And my concern is that there is no safety design in place for people that are getting picked up, dropped off, picked up by Uber, picked up by Lyft, what have you. And those designated parking spots will not suffice. We're going to table this discussion to next month. Hopefully, this team that presented tonight can take some of the feedback that was presented, some of the comments that were presented, and present next month with a better plan, especially if we hear back from DDOT regarding some of the issues that we presented with potential traffic hazards on 17th Street. So I move that we table this discussion to next month. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner McCollum. All in favor of tabling this discussion to next month's public meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, okay, one abstention. The motion carries. We'll table this project to next month. We appreciate y'all's time on presenting. Mr. Iglesias and your folks, we appreciate you guys staying out late for us on this one, but hopefully some of the feedback can be carried and presented next month.
And please reach out to me, Mr. Iglesias. I'm willing to talk to you all about any of my concerns, and definitely for my constituents. And thank you to my colleagues for willing to table this into the next meeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So coming to the close of the meeting, we just have community feedback and questions. If there's any questions, any random questions for the commission from any of the remaining attendees on tonight's meeting, feel free to raise your hand. I can unmute you so you can ask the question directly. If not, I'll allow the commissioners to make final comments before we adjourn. Skip Keats, you have a question?
Yes. First off, so people are clear, I know Juan's well aware. The medical building is gone and they're already excavating down at 1801 17th Street. So my concern is sufficient parking. When to the drop off and pickup issue, people are flying down I Street well over speed limits. And with all the vehicles that are now appearing, you're getting a lot of people who are almost hitting each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, and this is not directly to 801, but I think the city needs to address the issue with 801 going in there. They need to come up with a way to calm things down to the speed limit or below on I and H Street, particularly I Street. I live on I see we've already had a bunch of near accidents and several big accidents in the last 6 months. That's just expressing my concern on that.
Thank you, Mr. Keats. Any other questions from the public? I don't see anyone else have their hands raised. Okay, so let's close up this meeting. I haven't been on one this long yet, so we broke a record for me. I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. Quick as always. All those in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. We'll adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you all, especially to our interpreters. Thank you so much for being out this late with us. We really appreciate your time. You guys are phenomenal as always. If I had a sticker and some cookies, I would give it to y'all.